Guilty of crime.
And we're back. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. I'm your host, Jay, with Guilty of Crime, and happy Wednesday. We made it halfway through the week. And guys, you know the Nancy Guthrie case. There's no way I could not cover Nancy Guthrie. Guys, you guys got to hear this from me. We're going to do this with minimal drama. Okay, it's called chaos. So the good news is there are multiple articles that came out and multiple experts saying that they're closer than ever to getting an arrest in the for the porch guy. All right, so we're going to talk about that. Of course, at the very top of the hour, we're going to talk about the Arizona reporter who received the actual ransom note. Brianna Whitney put it out, but Jessica Bobula from the Arizona reporter KOLD, that's a news director. She's the one that received the demands, and that second note claimed that Nancy Guthrie had died shortly after the abduction. They expressed regret and made no financial demands at all. So guys, we're going to focus heavily on the note today, on the ransom note number 2. And we're going to break that down with the verbiage. And guys, so much came up in between that. But our major focus is on the note, what the note reveals. That's going to be the biggest thing, and the fact that experts are confident that arrest is coming for porch guy. Guys, I got some tea on Derek Colella. We got some stuff on Annie and Tommaso again. I don't know how it keeps coming back. But then we got chaos in Pima County, and I want to keep it nice around here. I don't want people to start talking crap about these creators. I'm going to present to you what has happened, but I'm not trashing anyone. And maybe you guys have seen it. Dolly was on this morning. He was very upset over this Criminal X posting and the actual arrest of Alex from Criminal Network. He was pissed, and rightfully so. And the reason I say rightfully so is because he has streamed with him and invited him to his group. And I gotta let you guys know this. When someone comes on my channel, I'm responsible for what those people say. And you guys, it's not your fault, but you guys as a community hold me accountable for collaborating with whoever I collaborate with. That being said, we don't want to be attached to people like T-Rev that made a spectacle out of the Madeline Soto case, right? So Dolly was pissed this morning, very, very pissed off this morning about the Criminal Network. And maybe I should do that real quick first. But I just don't want this to be a drama stream. I'm going to put it in there. Dolly said a lot. And I want you to know that I back Dolly and what he says, but I just can't trash. Even T-Rev, I'm not going to trash him. But I have to think of the channel and the people that I collaborate with. As a matter of fact, this morning I texted Mab and said, Mab, you were just on Criminal X. Just a word of caution. Everyone's trashing Criminal X for what happened, and because Mab was on there, they're pointing fingers at Mab, and I don't want that because Mab's my buddy. And although his ideas are way outside of the box sometimes, it's refreshing because mine stay in this Occam's razor until something says otherwise. All right. So I love other creators and collabing with them. I don't want to trash them. Thank you so much, Inquisitive P. I hadn't even said, come on in, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, get a membership if you can. All right, guys, we're gonna get everything in today with minimal drama. Yeah, he's my buddy. Like, even if Mab makes a mistake, I'm still going to be friends with him. I'm not gonna be like, I don't like you, Mab. But yeah, I might say to Mab, I don't think that was a good choice, dude, in my opinion. And I have the right to say that to anybody I want to, but that's not what he did. Mab's good. Man, I just didn't want people getting drug into this, and I don't want drama. This is an arrest, however, and the things that he said to this should never happen. Nancy Guthrie should never be getting attacked by anybody. You guys know I've also told you that it would be hard for me to do boots on the ground because I'm not a pushy person that will start yelling at the neighbors if they ask me to leave. If the neighbors ask me to leave, I'm going to leave. I'm going to say, thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry about the inconvenience. I was covering this case and thank you. That's it. I'm going to walk away and I'm going to say thank you. I'm not going to start saying, well, I have my amendment rights and blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a thing about rights, and then there's a thing about respect, and then there's a thing about empathy, and then there's a thing about sympathy. All right. So we got to do things in the right way as creators because we're an outlet for you guys. Okay. We're an outlet. So right now, it's in my opinion, I think we're closer than ever to finding the porch guy. And I'll tell you why. Just go back to my playlist and see all of the people that have been detained, let go, all the evidence that's been collected. Guys, we're getting there. Carrie, Teresa, first, let me say hello. Carrie, I posted that article in my shorts today. I'm going to do a quick clip of it. But yeah, man, you said, man, did good today. I watched the live. He was on with Sleuth and a few others on Alex Live. They did all good and didn't think we're talking facts. I didn't think, I'm not sure if you're saying you liked what they did or you didn't, but I watched Mab because I told Mab that I want to address him. So I'm not sure. Mab definitely did good today. I watched his live. Again, these men can have their opinions. Dolly, Mab, I can have my opinion, but my opinion doesn't mean I need to trash anybody. All right. So thank you. I know you did. I got you. What's up, Mrs. Redhead? Mrs. Redhead is going to go out and meet me in the woods. If she doesn't come back, you know who she was last with. What's up, girl? Good to see you. Jamie, we are good. You guys also, I don't care about Stephen Stern's phone calls. I could care less about those. Anyway, but hello. All right. I don't want to listen to his phone calls at all. I do want to tell you about Madeline Soto's autopsy and any other thing that I learned that I can bring to the table that others can't. But that's not one of them. All right. Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate you for supporting our boy Mab. I love Mab and his wife, just who they are. I watch a lot of channels, but I support Mab until I don't, right? And I don't think that's the case. I see who he is. All right, I'm just going to come out the gate with this. Come on, you guys know what we're talking about, but this is not going to be the same episode as everybody else's today. I'm going to tell you what happened. I'm going to bring the facts, and then I'm going to show you things you might not have seen otherwise. And we're going to talk about this ransom note that Savannah Guthrie has had access to for a long time, as a matter of fact. And she has no reason to have told us specifically, my mom's dead. That's not our right. Okay, so let me hit play.
The Nancy Guthrie ransom note was addressed directly to Savannah. Hello, Savannah, the note began. We have your mother, Nancy. CBS News is also revealing that the kidnapper's note goes on to describe the exact location of Nancy's Apple Watch inside her bedroom, a detail that was never made public and was meant to show the ransom demand was the real deal. The $6 million ransom was never paid, and best-selling author Howard Bloom, who writes about the case in the online magazine Airmail, says detectives he spoke to are regretting that decision today.
again, I appreciate you sending me that. You guys, I just put that over on my shorts page. All right, I've got that. If I run out of time, then I can just direct you to check that out. There's a lot of good information, inside information. And as a matter of fact, let me remove this. I'm trying to actually put this up. So that's the title for it. Inside the Search for Nancy Guthrie, Part 2. Did law enforcement make a colossal, even fatal mistake in the early days? And I'm going to say yes, just simply without even reading this, because of that $152 deposit into the wallet. I think that was a slap in the face for anybody. And they're like, you're just playing with me. And that's neither here nor there. I don't think that Nancy Guthrie is with us any longer. So please say a prayer for her and her family and whoever this is connected to. We'll find out. Thank you, Foxy, for the Guilty of Crime membership. If you received the membership, please thank her. All right. So remember, all of this stuff, keep in your mind, all the connections, all the things, because I'm going to go back to all of this. Everything's going to be referenced today that needs to be referenced. All right. All right. Let's get this down and put that back up and listen to what he has to say. I agree. Fatal mistakes in the very beginning.
Hey.
Not to have done that originally when the window of opportunity was there was perhaps a very big, even a fatal mistake.
He says Tucson police considered using what they called the Big Jake theory, a tactic inspired by the 1971 John Wayne Western, Big Jake.
Let it down! Come on! Let me down!
In the movie, John Wayne's grandson is kidnapped and he chases the bad guys.
He has a plan. He's going to pay the money, but also get the money back and his grandson back. And the cops refer to that because that's what they feel should have been done in this case. They should have paid the ransom, hoped to get Nancy back, and then worry about getting the money back.
Bloom believes the kidnappers got the idea to kidnap Nancy after Savannah returned home to shoot a special for the Today Show last November.
But the best thing about
Are we all on the same page here? I know I came in hot today, and that's because I have a big episode planned, and I want to get that in. Holly, thank you for coming and modding for us today. Foxy, Amazon, Synth, Mama Pearl, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys being here. Lil Red, good to see you. Support with Steph, good to see you. Guys, like I said, like, share, subscribe, hype, and get this out there because this is not the same episode. This is not the Nancy Grace episode that you just watched. Far from it. There's going to be so many details coming in and behind the scenes chaos that you're not going to get anywhere else without the drama. We're not going to yell at each other or trash each other, okay?
Tucson is coming home.
Yes.
Seeing you guys.
I believe someone in Tucson saw this and they saw, look at these people. They have so much. Their life is so blessed. And in their greed, they came up with this scheme to take Savannah's mother.
All right. So there's one of the theories there, but we're working on it. Everybody's working, I hope, as far and fast as they can. All right. This is what we have thus far based on the last episode that I did. And I can't unsee some of the people. Make your own decisions. All right. Now, let me tell you quickly let's take a look at what I wrote for today. And then I'm going to play the clip for you. The date's wrong on this, but today is the 24th. Let me just tell you what I put together and then we'll watch some stuff. Now, somebody commented on one of my videos and they said I talk too much. If you don't like that I talk, you probably should head that way as well. Just saying. I am a channel that does reactions and true crime, and it says it in my description. So although I can totally drop all of the videos that I play and the way I play it and how they talk and I talk, I can certainly do that, but that's not my channel. All right. So hit that thumbs up if you like the way I present true crime and you like when I talk to you guys. I do talk. That's the thing. I don't know why people say stop talking. This is a reaction true crime channel, and I don't need the videos, but I love putting a show together for you in the way that I do. All right. So I'm just letting people know if you're coming in here to watch Monk's video, just go to his channel and watch it. The reason I'm here with you guys is because I assume that you want to talk and interact and chat, right? So hit that like button, guys. Show some love. I know, right? Otherwise, why would you even come here? I think the interaction is important because when I start going to true crime channels or any channel and they don't get back to me or anything, even when I super chat them, I can't get their attention just because I want to say something. Never, nothing. It's like they never say anything. So that's not what we do here, and that's not how we do. Otherwise, I won't go live. Then thank you so much, Mama Sage, for the $1.99 super sticker. Carrie, they should just read a book and head out like a fetus. I love it. Mabs in the house. Thank you. All right, let's quickly go through this so you can hear me talk and not talk and talk and not talk and talk. Right now, earlier I told you about KOLD, Jessica Bobula, and Brianna Whitney. All right. The second note claimed Nancy Guthrie had died. That's what I had told you earlier. Not in the first. No, these are the first sources that came from first two that came from the real deal. Investigators believe it actually came from the source as the first note, but those first and second notes are the real people. Again, they've been looking at this as more than one person the whole time, and now even more so. All right. Now, the only publicly known second ransom note in the Nancy Guthrie case, that's the only shared note. It was shared by an Arizona female reporter, KOLD News 13, and she confirmed her station received both ransom notes, and this is on top of TMZ and getting what they get. Now, this is the note that said Nancy Guthrie had died shortly after the abduction, expressed regret, and made no financial demands. You're going to hear it word for word from the female reporter right after this. But I wanted to make this nice and clear because when I reported on this Monday, it wasn't very clear because it was just coming in. And people were confused as to why I was talking about a ransom note that didn't really exist. All right. Second ransom note, it claimed Nancy had died. It did not include apology. It expressed regret over her passing, and it was very different in tone from the first note, which demanded cryptocurrency. Guys, we're talking about that today. We're talking about the notes. We're breaking down the writing and the tones and who it goes back to. Now, investigators believe that it did come from the same IP address as the first note, okay? And who shared it was KOLD. That was the first station that had received both ransom notes and described how the second one differed in almost every way from the first. So be aware what we're talking about. Now, additional corroborations from other outlets, multiple outlets reported the same core details. So I want you to know when we're talking about notes and you're confused about ransom notes and how many and what, this is it right here. I'm telling you, breaking it down. It's on there, signed, sealed, delivered. This is what it is. This is what's out there. Okay. This is what they've reported. So the multiple outlets reported the same core details. They never actually shared any of the notes with us. The second note, ABC News reported that Nancy died after abduction and was buried in nature. CBS News said the note said she died. The kidnapper said did not mean for her to die and made no demands. See, I'm going down the line. That was ABC, CBS, NBC confirmed the note expressed regret, not an apology, and made no financial request. Never talked about her being dead. Yahoo, CNN reported the note said Nancy died unintentionally, and it had a different tone from the first. All right, so real quick, there's a visual fact check timeline of the notes quickly. I don't want to insult y'all's intelligence. And all the details that are sourced came from CBS, Yahoo, and ABC. All right. February 2nd, ransom note number 1 comes in. Now, mind you, Nancy went missing 2 days prior. All right. Good to see you guys. Edith, Maggie, MM Clark, big hugs to you. All right. So check this out, guys. Regarding the ransom notes, ransom note number 1 went to TMZ, and it went to 2 local Arizona news stations. It was sent online via the tip lines. All right, easy, right? First note, That first note demanded, these are the key contents, it demanded millions in Bitcoin for Nancy's release, and it included highly specific, non-public details about Nancy's home. The Apple Watch with a white band was on the bedroom floor. They nailed that. And then her back porch light was broken. They told that, addressed directly to Savannah Guthrie. However, it didn't go to Savannah. It went to these news stations that I mentioned above. All right, why it matters? Investigators say that this note contained operational details only the abductor would know, making it highly credible. Mind you, after this, I'm going to tell you, they're getting close to arresting the porch guy. All right, February 4th, public family response. Not a ransom note, but important context. Savannah Guthrie and siblings released a public plea video after hearing about the ransom communications that were circulating. The video was posted before the second note arrived. Okay, are we on the same page? 2 days later, February 6th, ransom note number 2 comes in. Who gets it? It's sent to the Guthrie family per CBS, not sent to media this time. Did you guys know that? I didn't. Keynotes claimed Nancy had died. All right. So in this one that claimed it died went straight to CBS and they gave it to Nancy. It didn't go to TMZ, none of that. It said that her death was unintentional, and you're going to hear exactly what after this. No ransom demand, and the tone, guys, suggested guilt or an attempt to minimize the responsibility. All right. Investigators believe the same person wrote the first 2 notes from the same IP address, indicating continuity and credibility. All right. Later messages, unverified or not, from the abductor. CBS and Savannah Guthrie confirmed many additional notes then surfaced, but most were not real. Only the first 2 are considered authentic by the family and the investigators. A later note, not the original 2, claimed Nancy was buried with nature. All right. Tone suggested emotional distancing or guilt, but investigators have not confirmed the authenticity. And then I put it side by side just so you can see it. It's not super pretty. I only had so much time today, but it just gives you the first note, February 2nd, TMZ plus local, Bitcoin, credibility, highly. February 6th, Guthrie family, unintentional death, high probability of credibility. All right. Then the later notes, various media and public, buried with nature, other claims, low, not believed to be authentic at all. All right. So, then, oh my God, Nancy Guthrie, Savannah, thanks a lot. All of the, oh goodness. So we got to this. So, right. Savannah is suffering. All of them are suffering. Right. And then you've got YouTubers causing drama and chaos. I can't even believe that this happened, guys, around this note that Savannah Guthrie is hearing on the news. She's hearing on the news that her mom died, and she's hearing on the news all these misconstrued ideas and messages that just simply didn't happen. On top of that, she's got the people out in Pima County and the neighborhood and her very upset that there are a bunch of YouTubers just propped up outside watching the house, blaming the family, etc., etc. And rightfully so. All right. Hold on. All right. So the reason we're talking about this is because I want you to know the credibility of what the ransom notes are, when they came in, and what experts think and what they're working on. All right. So I am going to, you saw that, let me show you. I want to show it at the same time, but just know Savannah's in a lot of pain, and coming out through all of this pain. This happened yesterday, guys. This is crazy. This came from TikTok. This came from X. This came from the criminal freaking network. I'll put that on next after you see what was said it directly in the note that did not say what they said it did. You remember when I covered this 2 days ago? It was wrong. I covered it and told you that it was wrong about what they were saying. Guys, turn your earphones up, whatever you got to do. I've looked everywhere that I could, and this is as loud as I can get it. This is the person from KOLD. She is the reporter, not the actual. So there's Jessica and there's Brianna. That's Brianna. Jessica actually received those notes. She's the director of the KOLD news, and Brianna Whitney got to see them. She actually was able to read the notes for herself. She saw them with her own eyes. All right. So check this out. We'll watch it a couple times. The words come down if we need them to, if you can't hear.
Hi, guys. You are probably seeing some reports surfacing this afternoon about the second Nancy Guthrie ransom note. Some media confirming that it said Nancy died and that she was buried in nature. I'm Brianna Whitney, Crime Junkie's breaking news reporter, and I have spent months and months covering the Nancy Guthrie case, boots on the ground. And in my former role, before I came to Crime Junkie, I was made aware of what these ransom notes said as I was reporting on the case. I've seen them with my own eyes, so I want to actually provide more context as to what that second note said. The way that this note was written, it's written as we, like we didn't know this, as if it was some sort of team or whoever was involved in this. It said, we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. It went on to say that they never intended to hurt her during all of this. They continued and said she perished shortly after she was taken. They believe that it was heart related. And then what the reports were confirming earlier today, that she was buried with nature. And maybe the most important part of the second ransom note, it said, nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We're truly sorry. So that's what I know from my reporting on this case. And that second note came in the first week of the investigation. Now, the FBI never came out and confirmed whether or not these ransom notes are legit. We knew that they were investigating them, but months have gone by. They never confirmed more.
And they don't have to.
That Savannah Guthrie said she believes that these two notes are real. We will keep you up to date on the Nancy Guthrie investigation as it continues.
All right. We don't need to watch this again right now because I want to get through this. I want to get through what I came here to talk about, and that is getting justice for Nancy, Savannah, and all the Guthries, anybody that obviously is not involved. All right, so we're going to continue talking about the connections and the cases. Yeah, she did know about it already, but that is not our job, and it's not her job to tell us about it. All right, so real quickly, there are several sources that are writing the same article. This came from MSN. I just liked it the best. However, when this is not the only article, and there's a whole Megyn Kelly episode that I watched earlier on this. Okay, so we've got MSN, Yahoo, and well, I don't know about TMZ, but all of them are saying what I'm about to read you. Okay, Nancy Guthrie case expert confident on imminent arrest. Give huge update on porch guy. All right, investigators may be nearing an arrest of the masked and armed individual known as the porch guy. Now, let me tell you guys something real quick. I just told you a second ago that they've matched the IP addresses to somebody of the same somebodies in the first two ransom notes. They know where the IP address came from. We don't know how far they know. Where did it come from? Were they using someone else's to ping off of? But they know where it came from. They have an IP address that matches the same first two. Now, FBI has nothing. FBI has nothing and no reason to tell us and about any of that, and neither does Savannah. All right? Let's continue. Oh, she hates the YouTubers. I don't blame her. I would be mad as well. All right, listen, and I'm going to show you why after this. Investigators, former specialist Maureen O'Connell. You guys know Maureen O'Connell. She's always on Brian Enton. She expressed on the Megyn Kelly show, which I'm not going to have time to play, so I'm reading it to you, that she believes authorities are closing in on the porch guy. She's suggesting that once he's apprehended, significant developments will follow, which left the host in disbelief as per the New York Post. Nancy Guthrie, ex-FBI, weighs in on the imminent arrest. O'Connell, all right, she references her own confidential resources, and she stated that she is 75% confident that this elusive figure who has managed to evade law enforcement for almost 5 months, could soon be arrested. That's big news. That's huge. Huge. But if true, as the kids say, Kelly replied. Guthrie, 84, today, mother of the Today Show, Savannah, was taken from her residence in Tucson, Arizona during the early hours of February 1st. No suspects have been identified. All right. Now, you guys know the porch guy and the footage. In the days following the abduction, porch guy was released by authorities, and we have some pretty disturbing footage. But guys, I bet there's more. All right. The individual who held the flashlight attempted to obscure the camera with a gloved hand and subsequently removed several flowers from her garden in an effort to cover the lens. The footage indicates he was dressed in fleece and carried a backpack. Ransom notes in the Guthrie case. We already talked about all that. You're doing your trial prep, O'Connell to Kelly. Right now, this is the two people talking. Investigators have delayed making an arrest for an extended period as they have been methodically working to construct the case in anticipation of the trial, O'Connell conveyed to Kelly. From day one, you're doing trial prep, she says, practically. Everything you do is geared toward the trial and prosecution, she stated. You're going to have to do the greatest defense attorney in the world handling this case, whoever takes it. So you're going to have to operate under the assumption that a couple of big chunks of your evidence may get tossed out. So you have to put a case together in such a way that it would withstand losing some of these chunks of evidence. And we know that, right? We're here for it. We know. Now, that's good news. That's really good news. But what's not so good news is what's happening behind me. All right? What's happening behind me? What's happening with Savannah and Nancy's and Tommaso and Annie? What's happening? Why did all of the stuff get taken? Why won't people leave them alone? Why are there fights starting? And why do we keep looking back at these people? Which again, guys, I read today, Derek Colella has moved his hearing. It's in July, the beginning of July, but he's going to change his plea. And we don't know if it's going to be to plead guilty or to plead no contest. We're all speculating here. Thank you, Cuffy. I appreciate that. All right. Could someone put a link to MAB? Yes, we always put links to MAB and Flojo. If you guys could put links to MAB and Flojo, that would be awesome. Some morons and it went bad. Baja, that's a possibility, but let's check this out. It's a possibility, not a high probability, but take a look at this. While we're in the middle of this, I'm gonna say I would never do this to the people that I'm trying to give a voice to. If they tell me to go away, leave them alone. They don't message me back. I'm not going to push. I'm not going to keep going in there. But that happened yesterday. And Mr. Mabby Mab, I'm sorry you got caught in this, Mab. That happens. All right. If you watched Mab earlier, you'll know. Criminal Network was the Alex gentleman with all the tattoos on his neck and face that was arrested. The one you see on my thumbnail. That's Criminal Network. He tagged Savannah in his post on X, and he said, "Thanks a lot, Savannah. All this tells me is that it's time to expose you, because why in the world just find out on day 143 that your mother had passed away and that you've known for all this? You are thanking Sheriff Pima, the sheriff of Pima County. This is absolutely, I don't know if he was on something. Mab, weigh in. My only concern from this day moving forward is Nancy and Nancy only. Fuck the Guthrie family. Yeah, I said it. Criminal MF Network. P.S. I have done more for your mother in the last 4 months than you will ever find answers. Deuces, biatch." All right? That's Criminal Network. He said that in response to the arrest and to finding out about the detailed report that Savannah Guthrie was the one that called it in. All right. Thank you, Sudi. We try to be out. Oh, he directly called her out. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, but I'm just going to get to the information I have. Okay, now listen, he got arrested. You guys knew that probably days ago, last week. Here's the narrative, guys. On 6/11 of 2026, today is 6/24. There's a supplemental narrative. On 6/11 at approximately 1700 hours, I received communication from Savannah Guthrie regarding this matter. I was informed by Mrs. Guthrie that she had received information that a YouTube personality that goes by the name of Criminal Network X or Network was in front of her mother's house, possibly live streaming. I know this person to be Alex Zabel through previous investigations. Now, Mrs. Guthrie is one of the responsible parties for the property. And guys, frankly, when I start to look at Alex and Criminal Network, I would be scared too. And I'm not saying that he's scary because I have tattoos. I'm not saying he's scary because he's a felon. I'm saying he's scary because look at the response. I mean, the fact that he calls her, fucking bitch and uses that language and says, I've done way more for your mother after her having to live through her mom dying again. She knew this months ago or 2 months ago. Why? He's not a felon. I thought he's a felon. Either way, I had no idea he posted on X because I don't do X. Yeah, you're learning the ropes, buddy. You'll see. All right. We don't know who Alex Zabel is. I'm gonna show you in a minute. All right. So listen, he literally tagged Savannah Guthrie. Okay. Fuck you, bitch. Whatever. The most awfulest thing you can say. And why did he do that? Well, because of this. Because Savannah Guthrie is one of the people responsible for the property. And it says here, and has been having issues with several internet true crime vloggers. It's not just Alex, guys. One is Mr. Zabel. Miss Guthrie was extremely upset that Mr. Zabel was back in front of her mother's residence. Over the last couple of months, she has expressed to me her displeasure about what has been going on with the vloggers and has on multiple occasions told me that she fears for her and her family's safety with some of the actions they have been taking. Remember, guys, they're out there peeing. You can't pee in public. That's an offense in California. Yeah, there's a pee tent. You know why there was a pee tent? Because they were pissing outside like the old school days. You remember when a man used to be able to pull over the side of the road, pull out the pinky winky and piss? Well, that's an offense. That's a sex offender crime now. You can't pull out the dioc and just pee. And nobody wants some big old guy that's a felon, any of us, even me. I look like I could be a felon. I don't have a record. Nobody wants me out there squatting under a tent and disrespecting the family. No way, no how. Okay, so he found out that Nancy is the one that personally called the phone call to get him removed. That was her decision. On today's date, Mrs. Guthrie, Savannah, was unaware of what Mr. Zabel was doing or saying on the live stream. I mean, some people came into my chat, ladies and gentlemen, telling me that he was drunk and doing crazy shit. And I said, I don't bash YouTubers. Go to another channel. I don't want to hear it. So, Mrs. Guthrie was unaware of what Mr. Zabel was doing or saying on the live stream, but his mere presence was upsetting her. Rightfully so. You got this $40 million white lady that's been in the public and for years, and an ex, she's got a degree in law. If she feels uncomfortable, then leave. All right. So anyway, I forwarded this information to Pima County Sheriff's Department Patrol and was informed of this call for service and that deputies were already responding. I informed Mrs. Guthrie, Savannah, the response, and she thanked the Sheriff's Department for her attention to the matter. Guys, she doesn't want you out there. None of you. She doesn't want JLR. She doesn't want all the crackhead people that are just cracked out all night. Even if you're doing a good job, she doesn't want you there. All right? So leave. But you don't do this. This is not what you do. You don't tag her in this post and then go live and say, my only concern from this day is Nancy fuck the Guthrie family. Yeah, I said it. All right, let me show you who Criminal Network is. The national, international news. Okay, you guys want to know who Alex Zabel is. So let me, I'm going to put, I got a lot to tell you guys about today. So, oh, well, there's Alex Zabel. Maybe that's why she's afraid of him, guys. That is right there, Criminal Network. Okay? That is what he's got posted. He's the man with the tattoos that has a felon that Mrs. Guthrie, an older white rich lady, is afraid of, and rightfully so. I don't care what he was. If she wants him out of there, that's her freaking right. Now, let me show you, and she's looked him up, okay? She didn't know exactly what they were saying, but what she did know was who he was. She was aware of when he became a nuisance. She went to go check out his stuff and what he was doing. And let me show you. All right, let me put myself back here. I'm going to bring that stuff back up. Don't worry, but let me just show you. There it is, right there. Boom. This is the guy that's been out there with all the tattoos that recently got arrested. Criminal Network. All right.
Savannah Guthrie wants you to leave her mother's house alone. So apparently she's been complaining to authorities about YouTubers that have been outside of Nancy Guthrie's home trying to investigate her disappearance. And so now there's an incident report that started to surface online involving this YouTuber, Alex Zabel. And I guess Alex has a YouTube channel called Criminal Networks with an X at the end of it. And so this incident report has started to go around where it shows that Savannah is contacting local authorities claiming that his mere presence alone is upsetting to her. And she's extremely upset that he's continued to live stream from outside of her mother's home. Now, this has a lot of people torn because they're like, well, at what point do YouTubers kind of abandon the case and move on? But also at the same time, Savannah's saying that she's worried for her safety and her family's safety because of these YouTubers and these vloggers that have been outside of her mother's home. But to my understanding, Annie, Tommaso, Savannah, none of them are at or living at Nancy Guthrie's home. So I don't know how this would be a threat to her safety when she's taping the Today Show over in New York. And as far as we know, Annie and Tommaso have basically been in hiding and nobody's seen them in months now. So I don't know how this is a legitimate safety threat for them. I understand how maybe it could be an annoyance. Sheriff's County deputies have gone to the scene, and I guess this man has been detained amongst other YouTubers. But for whatever reason, Savannah is not happy that YouTubers are still out talking about her mother's case and covering it live from Pima County, Arizona. So I don't know. What do you think? Is this, I kind of feel, I get the point of like, yes, I guess it is annoying, you know, that people are still outside the home, but also we have no answers. We don't know what's going on. And these are some of the only people that are keeping this case alive.
And so this is why I try to play both sides of the case, any case, or both sides of the coin. I show you both sides of the coin. You guys can decide. You guys can judge. This is what I'm telling you. All right? It's both sides. I understand. I'm a YouTuber too, but long before I saw Alex and JLR showing up at people's house doing the most, I was like, I would never do that. It's so disrespectful. But that's their job, right? That's not his job, though. That's not Criminal Network's job. That's the news people that have boundaries and rules, and they go by the laws. All right. So there's a difference.
So wouldn't you kind of be at least somewhat grateful? I mean, I guess you could feel like maybe they're exploiting the story. I don't know. I feel like it's so strange that we still have no answers. And Savannah seems more upset about YouTubers than she seems to be upset with the Pima County Sheriff's Department, because she's sending the Pima County Sheriff's Department after the YouTubers to arrest them. I don't get it. I genuinely, everything about this case just is so bizarre to me. And I don't understand how this is what we're outraged at, rather than the lack of information or the lack of suspect, the lack of arrests. I mean, I guess
and guys, who doesn't agree with this? All right. Who doesn't agree with this? But they were out of control, because even this guy that's reporting, I know his little Twinkie ass wouldn't go over there with his gay flag pushing shit in their face. I know that. And I'm cool with him. I'm cool with this guy, but I know damn well he wouldn't be out there pushing shit in his face. I know he's more respectful than that. All right. And you're right. She should have. Absolutely right. But there's no reason, just out of being a human, there's no reason for someone to say, fuck the Guthries. Somebody that's a public figure that's trying to help. All right. I mean, just saying, there's a way to go about it and there's a way to not go about it.
Making arrests, they're just not towards anybody that actually took Nancy Guthrie.
But I do think they're getting there and they don't want this going on. So this is Criminal Network. I don't know what that is. Carlo, okay, where's a picture of him? All right, so he's posting all this stuff on his side. It's the invasion of so-called journalists. Remember, he got arrested. He's got a fund out there, I believe, a GoFundMe for his criminal case. Again, guys, this is what's happening. All right, it's neither here nor there. JLR says at least Nancy's trending again. All right, so I wanted to show you a picture of him, but why is he not in there more? Okay, there he is.
Motherfucking network. What's up, everybody?
That's him right there. Hold
Going through a
on.
lot of emotions right now. It's been a weird day for me. But I'm going to have a guest panel, bring some people in.
All right, hold on. That's him, guys. That's him.
People. And
you see that?
lots to unpack, especially this. Anyway, Criminal Motherfucking Network. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. A lot of cussing around here. If you have your children around, this is your warning. I cuss a lot. I don't know why. I just fucking cuss a lot. And that's just how I be.
I don't know.
I'll play the song for you guys.
That's him, guys. That's a guy peeing outside.
Done.
All right. I have nothing against him. Don't know this guy from Adam. I don't care. What I care about is that we move forward being more respectful so that we don't get into these predicaments because, well, frankly, all right. That's not Zach, guys. That's Criminal Network. That's a YouTuber. All right. Action figures at 40. Okay, so I'm going to pull that down. I'm not trying to start a campaign against him. I'm just telling you guys what's happening. That was a big deal this morning. You're going to hear more about it. And now let's hear some more about the things that I am talking about. I'll continue with this really quick. Again, this is Criminal Network, guys. This is the stuff that Savannah doesn't know about. She doesn't know him from Adam. All she knows is that she feels that she's in fear for her life and for her family's safety. If I was an older white woman with $40 million and I didn't sleep with the 9mm, I might feel that way too. Okay. Again, no judgment, but that right there is what's happening. When she looks up, what is this guy's, what is he? Look right there. Criminal Network, the face of Criminal Network. Come on, guys. Let's be real. If you guys went over to Guilty of Crime when I first started and I was talking about the Madeline Soto case and you guys saw me doing some dirtbag things, felon things, pissing outside, cussing at families, being disrespectful, you wouldn't like me either. And rightfully so. All right, Golden Hen, Jay, do you think they do not want the YouTubers there in case the perp comes back? Don't say they usually come back to the crime scene. They probably have surveillance. I think they don't want them there because the FBI is investigating. They haven't talked about taking the lead, but they're doing what they can, and it's disrupting them. But I think more than anything is the fact that Savannah Guthrie said, I want them out of here. Again, remember, this picture that you're seeing right here, this guy right here is the face of Criminal Network. And the stuff that you hear them saying, like, fuck Tommaso, maybe he did it, whatever. I genuinely think that Savannah and the neighbors just want them gone. I don't think it has to do with the YouTuber or the perps or any of that. They just frankly don't want a circus in their front yard. And that's what it's become, is this. All right? That's what it's become. I mean, what are we looking at here? Right? Would it scare you if you saw me like that? I mean, come on. Listen, I don't even know what his paper trail is, MNJ. I don't know what his paper trail is. I'm giving you the full deal of what Savannah Guthrie looked at when, again, nobody's debating that, MN. You're right. Everybody has a past. But when you're in the media and somebody's looking up to see if they feel comfortable and you find out these things, it's your right to say, I don't like that guy in his past. All right. So it's all right. It's his right to be there. It's your right to have a past. And it's my right to say, I don't like it. All right. Teresa Jay, he was riding around with JLR smoking weed outside of Nancy's house. And that's what several people came to my channel and told me. And you know what I said? Not my problem. I don't want to bash YouTubers. But what I'm telling you is he got arrested and he's now saying F the Guthries, particularly Savannah, for doing or making the report, right? Again, you could agree to disagree with me. I'm good. I'm good with that. All right. Okay, now let's look at some of the stuff. Again, this is not the whole topic. You guys know I get into it, right? We're talking Nancy Guthrie. She was buried in nature. What does the verbiage tell us? And what is the chaos, or why the chaos in Pima County? All right. Yeah. All right. So JLR was riding around smoking weed. That's a lie. JLR. I don't think that he said JLR, Cheryl. I think they said Criminal NX, but I don't care. That's the thing, is Cheryl and MN and MM and Janet. I don't care if they're running around smoking weed. I don't care if they're doing lines of coke. I don't care if they're drinking. What I care about is that this family that belongs to this house doesn't want them there, and that's it. Right? It's your house. Taxes are high. Get them gone if they don't want them to be there. I don't know. I never even said anything about JLR doing drugs. I don't know who said that or what, but I don't bring that onto my channel. But what I do bring is a police report against this man and a rebuttal saying, F you Guthries. That's all. That's it. I don't care what else you do. I could give two shits if this guy wants to walk around in a bikini smoking weed and drinking a tall can. That's his business. I don't give a shit. What I do care about is the words and the ransom, and not ruffling the feathers of the family, particularly Savannah. She's been the face of this, as you know. Of course, we're going to get into that next, about her statement and how it's just so disrespectful. All right, so listen, we're going to talk about the words, and you guys know I'm going to come at Annie because she's a poet, and so is her husband. They both write poetry. One does it in English, one does it in Italian. There's a lot of shit that I didn't even pick up on until now. Everyone's saying what? So you guys might have saw the Annie Guthrie poetry. I'm not going to sit there and read it all to you, but just take a look at how she writes and then start to think, if you write like that and then you put it into AI, Chat GPT, how would it come out? How would the wording sound? See, that's a strong claim, Cheryl. You're my girl. You're my guilty of crime family, but I don't know how the family doesn't seem to want to find Nancy. I feel like they absolutely want to find Nancy, especially Savannah, but it's not all right to make her talk about the fact that her mother's dead and she knew it at month number 2. I just don't, it's not all right. It's really not. I don't get it, but hey, teach her own. Anyway, look at some of her writing. We're going to get into it more. And Tommaso, the shit that you see about them is hard to look past too. Dear Missing, a channel by land, the gestures and juts, just touch the water rushes, shelter every sound shouted into it. The form of the shore is lost to counting of sand. The counts is lost to the sounds. If I could, I'd rearrange us. Shove selves, shell letters, shelve us, water surfacing itself inside ourselves as ever as yours missing. Whatever. Sure. All right, Annie. Good job. Don't know what that means, and I'm not going to break it down what it does mean. What I do say it when I see this, it could be compared to criminal people that are criminal investigators that are looking at this case, saying, why is the note written like that? Could it be a foreigner? Could it be someone from Mexico that's translating it from English to Spanish? Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. Wear a bikini, smoke crack, weed, whatever. Not my problem. All right. Anyway, just think about those words. We're going to continue. I'm just going on to some of the chaos behind the scenes. JLR comes in. I'm like, what has this man got? Another poem from Annie with some really shitty stuff. The Destroyer, it's called. And then where's Nancy Guthrie? All right. I'm going to show you these because I don't want to get off of X right now. But these are also more like gore pictures written with her poetry. All right. Awesome. What did Synth catch? I can't see when I'm reading. That's a problem. All right, let's or I'm talking. So look at that. I mean, that is attached to her writing. And you guys got to know, we all have biases. There's classes they make you take in San Jose when you work for like any Apple, Google. It's called confirmation bias. We all have confirmation bias. We all have biases. All right. All right, let's continue. I just want you to see the shit going behind the scenes that people are talking about. Right? That's attached to this writing of Annie Guthrie, The Destroyer. I stayed away. I stayed anyway. I think caressed his body. I think it was a female. A large rash of warts was equivalent to resignation. Beautiful mind, what can you do with a knife? I was a pair with the question, what is the motion of a secret? A secret doesn't move unless it's shared. If I do it all by hand, it's carving. Otherwise, it's longing. I had one by myself. That blade was a photograph of last year. All year long, I got the whole thing in one exposure. All right. The negatives were appropriate. A splicing negative. No one was different. I stayed all year in resignation. Beautiful knife. What can you do? Weeping? No, cross that out. Keeping. All year long, it was female. It was yours. Right? This is Annie Guthrie, The Destroyer. All right? Let's continue. More graphic content. That's you can go directly to her page. I don't need to. Right? I just wanted you to see some of the fuckery going on. I didn't realize that Derek Colella had a YouTube channel, and I didn't realize on the YouTube channel there was a comment about Nancy Guthrie. Now, mind you, Derek Colella is the person that was arrested for allegedly demanding Bitcoin from Nancy Guthrie's daughter-in-law and son, Tommaso Cioni. This is the guy that's going to go. He's going to change his plea. Okay, there he is on his YouTube channel. And 4 months ago, that was a month after Nancy went missing, somebody wrote Nancy baby. What the hell does that mean? Let's look at Derek Colella really quick. All right, let me jump to that just because I want to show you what I've been doing in the back, the chaos that I referred to behind the scenes type of that you're not really seeing on the news. And I'm not trying to get into much drama. All right, so look at this. I went straight to his YouTube channel just so you can see it for yourself. I don't even know what he's playing. I'm going to get to the comment. Yeah, I don't care. I'm a horror fan, Mrs. Redhead. If you were to look around me, there's nothing but horror. Okay? Yes, that is a blow-up doll, and it is like it has a gag around its mouth. All right? Again, I don't care. I don't care if you're into fetish. I don't care if you're into whatever. I don't care. But when you're a suspect and you've sent ransom letters or ransom notes and then called the two last people that allegedly saw her alive, it's worrisome. This is Derek Colella. You guys, we're going to see him again in court soon. Now, this is called Dangerous Drugs Demi, all right? And then the note on it, there was nothing. This is June 22 of 2020. This is all when we were stuck in the house 6 years ago, all right? But there was a note on there, and I wanted to make sure that I got it because look at that. I mean, I'm showing more, and the comment is not there. What happened to the comment? And that's why I got it from here, because it was on there earlier and now the comment is mysteriously gone. It was there, I assure you. Anyway, what does that mean? You guys can ask for yourself. Oh, just wait. We're getting I have a whole episode on that. All right. So anyway, there's Derek Colella. All right. I'm gonna continue. I'm not sitting in one spot bashing a person. Now we're on X. This is my X, by the way. It's things I've reposted. So if you want to see the things I reposted and did, go ahead. All right. Ransom note. What does it tell? I'm not going to even get into Jen Coffindoffer's, but it says her death was accidental. No apology. The urgency of finding Nancy dissipated. We all saw that after the ransom note came out and law enforcement believed she was dead. I agree with that. And I agree why she didn't need to really tell us that she was dead. Okay. Okay. All right. And then there's the original person that was able to read that. She received it from her boss of KOLD. Okay. All right. Now we're starting to get into Carmelo, and I'm not going to do that. All right. So now this is still playing in the background. I don't want that. Let's get straight into Savannah and that note and what actually freaking happened. All right. And then we'll double back around.
Plea once again this morning, which we're about to play for you. Now, the reason she's making this plea is because of the new reports about the second ransom note that was received by one Tucson TV station on February 6th. Now, the report is that we've now learned that that note was not actually a ransom note and that it merely informed the Guthrie family that Nancy had passed away. So
shortly after the kidnapping.
Right. So this morning, Savannah knew that there was obviously a lot of attention to that, and she wanted to make a comment, but not about the story itself.
I don't have any comment on the story, and I'm not involved in our coverage, but I can't pretend I'm not here. And so since I am, I wanted to just take the opportunity to ask people, to beg people to come forward. Somebody knows something. We are in agony. We cannot be at peace. So no matter how much I try, come out here every day and smile and find that joy, and I will. I promise I will. This is a moment to tell you that we need your help. We're begging for your help, and I'm not going to miss that opportunity. And so please, if you're watching,
yes,
no matter how small, the reward is there. You can tell us. It can be anonymous. Please do the right thing for us, for our family, for our children. And we love our mom, and we'll never stop looking for her. Never.
So it is really heart-wrenching, and we want to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But first, we should talk about the confusion over the sequence of events that happened in the week following the kidnapping. That we received the first ransom note. And that note, which the FBI says is real, and it's the same people who wrote the second note, it said, give us $4 million and we will return Nancy. But if you don't do it within 4 days, it goes to $6 million. And if you don't do it within 3 days after that, we will kill her. And that's what it says in those stark terms. So then we find.
Now, mind you, TMZ wanted to be relevant. They got what they wanted. All right. They also got what they wanted because FBI has finally doubled back around. We are not seeing searchers. We're not seeing it. That's the FBI. And I agree that more needs to be done, but we don't know how close the FBI is to getting the IP address, getting the DNA back. And yes, Mama Pearl says, I feel bad for Savannah. You know why? Because I'm kind of like the Savannah in my neighborhood, and my mom knows it, and she's there with me. If someone comes in, yeah, you got it. If someone comes to my house or even across the street and they're sitting there for hours in their car, I shit you not. I'm like, where do you live on this street? And if not, you got to keep trucking because this is not where our kids and our things, this is not, we don't have people just lingering in the neighborhood. And if my mom had been kidnapped and I knew she was dead, I would be even worse than that. Savannah's being nice. I'd probably come out and cock my gun and say, get the F out of here. I mean, I don't know what I'd do. I don't want to think about my mom being kidnapped and killed. All right. But I also want you to know I have no bias against Alex for the horror or for the tattoos. Guys, I'm tattooed up. I'm tattooed up everywhere. I also love horror. Yes, this is The Tusk. This is probably one of the grossest movies that you'll ever see. You probably never even seen it before. Look at, there's faces on it. There's like death masks. Literally made on. This is a handmade doll called The Tusk. And it's not a doll. It's like heavy glass, all handmade. I am not downing anyone for horror. All right. Of course, the Constitution means something to me. Of course it does. I'm not bashing you. I just said that. Don't come on my channel and say I'm bashing you, because anyone can say I'm not bashing you. The Constitution means a lot to me, but being respectful means a lot as well. So please be respectful. All right. But you can be here and be respectful. The Constitution and A1 rights are in question. Remember that, not behavior. I understand that, Mr. Criminal Network, and I understand what you're saying. I have both sides of this playing. I'm letting people know, look, I'm tatted to the gills. I'm not bashing on you or anybody there, and I'm not being disrespectful. I'm saying what I would do and how I feel. All right? So do your thing. Do your thing. And now you know. I don't think you want to get arrested all the time. So I'm assuming next time they tell you to leave, and then you'll realize Pima County is going to arrest me if I don't leave. Right? That's all. I didn't say anything about you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm not even trying to go there, dude. If I met you outside somewhere, I'd say what's up to you. I just don't like disrespect, and certainly I wouldn't want that to happen to me or my mom. So thank you. All right. Geez, negative. Yeah, I had to address that because I knew. No worries. A Criminal Network. This has happened to me in the Maddie Soto case. I got a bunch of it came way too fast, and people started with making stuff up. All right. So just do your thing, ignore the haters, keep going, and learn from your shit. That's all. That's what I do. All right. But guys, like I said, as a horror fan, we just saw Criminal Network here. Alex, he likes horror, and that's what I was saying. I'm like, it doesn't matter that you like horror or you want to do these weird evil or these weird things that look evil with the blood and shit. That doesn't mean anything. But respect goes a long way. What's up, Fugitive TV? Good to see you. How you doing, my friend? I've been wanting to get your attention, and thank you. I used your content yesterday, and I absolutely loved it. Keep rocking what you do. And if you guys could drop a link to Fugitive TV, that would all be awesome. Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get that. I came on here and said, we're not bashing a single person. We're simply talking about what's going on and how I feel. All right, let's continue. Let me get this back on and let's go.
Doubt that second note says she has died.
She has died.
And the day after that, and this is the confusion, Savannah did a social media post with her family saying that we want our mother back home so we can celebrate, and we will pay money.
Celebrate with her.
And we will pay money.
Right.
And the money was never paid because we have the Bitcoin address.
Right.
And nothing other than what the FBI did to try and trace it, nothing was paid.
Right. So that was confusing. Now, in light of knowing that on Friday, the 6th, they were informed that she had passed away, that video that Savannah and her siblings made on Saturday made it sound like they didn't say, bring her home so we can celebrate her life. They said, so we can celebrate with her. It's like they were kind of walking a line. They didn't want to reveal to the public that, at least according to the ransom note, which the FBI believed, that...
You see, this is what we want to do with our community. We want, there's absolutely a difference between gore and satanic gore, right? But I don't know those people either, Alex, she wrote. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying judging a book by its cover is not the right thing to do. So let's not give them anything to talk shit about us for. You know what I'm saying? And thank you, Fugitive TV. I've been watching your stuff for a while, and I really like your style. I like your coverage. Thank you. All right. Did drop a link for him. And then, a lot of people have your back, Fugitive TV. I mean, Fugitive TV too, but Alex, Criminal Network. A lot of people have your back. A lot of people in here are saying exactly, he didn't do anything wrong. And I'm just telling what happened. So there is no miscommunication. I told Mab this morning, be ready for the attack, because people are going to say, Mab, you were on criminal networks last night, so it's your fault, right? Friendly neighbor. Let's continue. This is the most accurate I've seen TMZ be. Now, this came out, must came out last night or early this morning.
They didn't want to reveal that Nancy had passed away.
And there's a reason, because we know this from the FBI. They believed that these ransom notes, these 2 ransom notes, were real, but they weren't positive. And they didn't, I believe this, they didn't want to say definitively she had died because they wanted people to keep looking for her.
They didn't want to let up the public pressure.
In case they weren't real, in case this was bogus.
And even if it was real, they also...
Even if it is real, you don't want to tell the world that, right? And Fugitive TV has a record, right? You were on the run. Fugitive TV, that's what I love about at the beginning of the episode. He tells you his story. He says, I was on the run for years. I gave myself up, and now I'm doing the right thing, and I want to help people. You go, Fugitive TV. I don't care what your arrest record is. I'm sorry, it seems to be negative tonight. No, we're getting out of that. It's just it's my episode, Why the Chaos in Pima County. We're all good, Dave. Golden Hen. Everything you're putting out is exactly what FBI would be looking for. Annie seems very sad and lost. Maybe Tomato was sick of his wife hurting and did something about it. Wait, we're getting to that next. Thank you so much for saying that, Golden Hen. We're going to go with Profiling Evil. This man, kudos to Mike King. My goodness, I couldn't have said this better. And that's why I wanted to show you these parts of the writings. Even Tommaso does that, but he does his writing in Italian or whatever he does in another language. All right. Thank you, Criminal Network. I hope things go well for you. And there's no more arrests. Don't get arrested. It's not a good look, man. And it's hot out there. All right. Pima County is bananas. Pima County is the issue. I agree. Pima County is a huge issue. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. Fugitive TV has a record. I don't give a shit about that. I care how he acts now. All right. Yeah. I agree. I think that it's a red herring as well. Criminal Network, I think that they're doing anything to take the attention off of the lack of work that they've done in the first 24 to 48 hours. I mean, they slapped those kidnappers in the face with a $152 Bitcoin transaction. If I were a kidnapper and they did that, I'd be mad as hell. All right. What's up, Ben? Good to see you. Let's continue. I want to get to this.
Also wanted the public to still be vigilant, and to share whatever information, if you had information about the kidnapping.
So here's what we can piece together. That when Savannah said we will pay money, the problem was that second note did not have a ransom demand.
So that's the problem here, Cat Lady. Much love to you, by the way. You really got to go back and watch the first hour of my episode, because I broke down for you and everybody else that was lost and confused, like myself, about the notes and the sequence and what Savannah didn't say. I mean, I think that's why the whole thing happened with the Criminal X and Savannah, because Criminal X is out there with all the other people, JLR and whatever, and so Savannah called the police on them, and he got arrested. And then he said something about why didn't you tell us in the note? You're not lost, really, but if you go back and take a look at what I did, there's a lot of confusion. It's not just you. But yeah, a lot of red herrings in this case. Dude, Derek Colella is going to change his plea from not guilty to something else. We don't know yet. It could be no contest, guys. Maybe he's going to give them more information.
Right. They didn't say, send us money and we'll tell you where the body is. But Savannah was making an offer to the kidnappers saying, we will pay.
And so, look, we know that they had asked for that $6 million.
Of course.
It seemed like now it seems like the kidnappers were just freaked out that she died on them, and apparently died very early on. And they're thinking, oh my God, we just wanted to get money, and now all of a sudden she's dead.
This is going to be a murder.
So they're backing away.
Right. And we got to disappear.
And she's saying, no. We'll pay money. Tell us where.
What the quote from her was, this is very valuable to us and we will pay. But this is the location.
Thank you so much, Criminal Network. More than anything, thank you for coming over here and just, being a man yourself and seeing what was being said rather than somebody going to you. And then, we're not little high school or teenage girls. We're grown ass people and we can talk to each other. So thank you. Thank you for showing people in chat as well that, you can be hot headed and still do the right thing at the same time. So thank you. I appreciate that. All right, let's continue.
Location of Nancy. That's what.
Well, the chat is asking if the FBI told Nancy, Savannah not to pay the ransom. Is it their fault for them not getting?
No, because it wasn't that.
Yes,
it wasn't paying ransom because the second note didn't ask for money. It wasn't.
But I think their point, the chat's point is, why didn't they pay the first one?
All right, I'm about to gift 5 more memberships, guys. That's 15 memberships. So please do me a favor and smash that like button, drop a comment. Let's go. All right. I want to get through this so bad, but this is the part about the notes. And I just don't want any confusion so that we can get into breaking down the notes and the verbiage. All right. The verbiage everybody's talking about, and rightfully so.
Exactly.
Because they didn't know that it was real at that point. They're trying to verify.
They didn't know it was real. They were trying to verify it, and it happened pretty quickly. And all of a sudden, they get this note saying she's dead, and so they want to get the body back. But if they pay the $6 million, they're talking to kidnappers who seem to be freaked out. That
They still had the second deadline, which was the 9th, I believe.
That had passed.
No. At that point, it hadn't passed. The second deadline had not passed by that Friday.
No, you're right. The second deadline
died, but Nancy, as it turns out, according to this note, died before they even got to that.
But they could have said,
"Yep,
you give us that $6 million, and we'll tell you where the body is." They didn't do that.
Right.
They didn't do that. So she's saying, "Look, what do you want? We'll pay money. Tell us where the body is." And they never responded.
And the only way that they could get that, they had to make this public video. Was the only way to communicate with whoever the abductors were, and they're just desperate to now. They want this. Obviously, they want her body, but they want the public, as you heard her say, someone come forward and tell us who's responsible for this.
And so
because they want justice.
So the two things about the FBI. So one is that this case, I know people are saying there's activity. It's gone cold. And I have talked to somebody in the FBI who told me that the way they see it is that they will solve this case in 6 months or 2 years. Somebody's going to go to a bar and somebody's going to start bragging or talking, or an ex-girlfriend is going to start
say something in revenge. Yeah.
And that they feel that's the way they're going to solve it.
Yes.
But the final thing is, and I'm telling you, we got a dozen emails from a guy who said he knows who the kidnappers are and where Nancy Guthrie's body is. He said he knows. He said they were in Mexico. And we had a sense that this was real. Yeah. And a month ago, and the FBI was talking to us all the time. And a month ago, we called and said, look, what if we do a documentary, pay that, and maybe it'll lead to the body? And they just went radio silent. I called twice today and nothing back. Yeah, they're just, for whatever reason, and it's just weird to me, they have just gone absolutely silent.
Hi, my name is Mark from Boston, Massachusetts. And my big thing is with Savannah's plea today is just, it's so gut-wrenching. It's so sad. But the issue and the frustration that I have is just, we don't have anything new to go off of. We want to help the family, want to help look for her, but we don't have anything new to go off of. It's almost help us, help you. I know some information is close to the vest, but we need something to help Savannah and the rest of the Guthrie family.
I don't know if the FBI has anything. Yeah. From everything I can gather, they don't.
Coming up, everyone recognizes Paris as an incredibly romantic city.
All right, this is not coming up. We're done, thankfully, with this, only because I am very excited to talk about these ransom notes. Finally, somebody that's seen them. Now, if you guys just came in here, you guys probably just came in here. You know what? I'm gonna, right before I go on to the verbiage, I'm gonna just play that 1.5-minute clip again real quick of what was actually said. All right, hold on. Let me get back to right here. I wish it was louder, but that's okay. I need you guys to see this and see, and we no more TMZ. That was just them explaining. And of course they capitalized it. Had somebody sent me a ransom note and asked me to spread it, I would do so. I mean, that's what they do, right? Okay. This is the person that has spoken out, and her name is Brianna, right? Brianna Whitney from KOLD. She read that letter. She had eyes on that letter, and she's telling us what it said. Then we're going to get into breaking down the verbiage and how weird it is, how there's multiple people that we think's involved, and who's writing this. Guys, I got a special episode for you today, so please stay here. Hit that like button, subscribe, hype, do all the things. And sub up to all the people that come in here that we're fans of, okay? We all want to boost each other, not knock each other down.
You are probably seeing some reports surfacing this afternoon about the second Nancy Guthrie ransom.
Hold on.
Some media confirming that it said Nancy died and that she was buried in nature. I'm Brianna Whitney, Crime Junkie's breaking news reporter, and I have spent months and months covering the Nancy Guthrie case.
Hold on.
Hi guys, you are probably seeing some reports surfacing this afternoon about the second Nancy Guthrie ransom note. Some media confirming that it said Nancy died and that she was buried in nature. I'm Brianna Whitney, Crime Junkie's breaking news reporter, and I have spent months and months covering the Nancy Guthrie case, boots on the ground.
Good night,
In
Linda.
my former role, before I came to Crime Junkie, I was made aware of what these ransom notes said as I was reporting on the case. I've seen them with my own eyes, so I want to actually provide more context as to what that second note said. The way that this note was written, it's written as we, like we didn't know this, as if it was some sort of team or whoever was involved in this. It said,
Thank you.
we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. It went on to say that they never intended to hurt her during all of this. They continued and said she perished shortly after she.
You'll have to email me that, my friend, because I can't pick up links from the chat. So can you shoot me a quick email with that and I'll play it and I'll boost the sound and then we'll get into it. Good. Oh my God, Yvette. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Not only that, you're giving my show away today. Not only the buried in nature part, but the whole part about the back doors being propped open. The way she said that, the way she emphasized that to Savannah about the back doors being open. And then I looked that up about the doors being open and Wiccans and their belief of new beginnings. What? Guy, thank you, Yvette. But don't give it all away. All right. But you don't think she didn't write that way. We're going to get there. We are going to get there. I believe someone wrote it and then they put AI over what they wrote. They just wrote it out and then they AI'd it so that it wasn't in their writing. All right. You're the only person I know with a tusk. I love mine. I've had it for 7 years. Really, bestie? You really are my bestie. I have 2 of those. I accidentally bid on 2. Well, I didn't accidentally. I got them on eBay and I bid on 2 of them and I accidentally won both of them. Don't tell my wife, okay? How many things are put? A lot. And if anyone wants to elaborate, they can. All right, let me I'll press play while I'm pulling up the link.
She was taken. They
Hold on.
believe that it was heart
Thank you,
related,
cuff you.
And what the reports were confirming earlier today, that she was buried with nature.
that's
and
not
maybe
what I-
the most important part of the second ransom note, it said,
Okay.
nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We are truly sorry. So that's
Oh, no
what I
way,
know
it's
from
right
my
here.
reporting on this case. And that second note came in the first week of the investigation. Now,
So you guys hear that? It came out the first week of the investigation. So that tells you that Savannah, when she was talking and discussing and her statements, going back to work, she knew her mom was already passed. Now, mind you, you can go back to my channel. I've been saying that since day one. I'm like, she's not alive, guys. There's no way she's alive. There's no way they have her, feeding her medicine and checking her blood pressure. It's just not probable. All right, check this out. And then I will get to the verbiage.
note said as I was reporting on the case. I've seen them with my own eyes. So I
Thank
want to
you.
actually provide more context as to what that second note said. The way that this note was written, it's written as we, like we didn't know this, as if it was some sort of team or whoever was involved in this. It said, we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. It went on to say that they never intended to hurt her during all of this. They continued and said she perished shortly after she was taken. They believe that it was heart related. And then what the reports were confirming earlier today, that she was buried with nature. And maybe the most important part of the second ransom note, it said, nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We are truly sorry.
Guys, I'm calling BS on this particular ransom note and the verbiage. I'm not saying that the note is not authentic, that Brianna saw. But let's not forget that there was blood on Nancy Guthrie's front porch, and it was Nancy Guthrie's blood.
And let's not forget, my friends, let's not forget for one little bit of a second that all of that was left out. All of that was left out to Savannah, that there was blood. It was left out about the back doors. And listen, frankly, if you guys were thinking like I did, MM, and any of you guys have been on kind of the same page, thinking that it was somebody that just that hates. When I say seething, just hate for Savannah. And then you hear about that second note, and they're almost expressing regret. Would somebody that hated Savannah express regret, or somebody that maybe hated Savannah but loved Savannah at the same time, love, hate, thinking rich bitch, whatever, and then regretted it? We're going over that, Thomas. Please stay here. A lot of red herrings, right? I don't need bed crime stories to tell me anything else. I'm going to get to it now. All right. So we're going to continue on. Thank you, Cuff You, for sending me a link so I can hear it, so the audience can hear it better. I've watched it a bunch of times already, and now we can get to some of what Mike King profiles, and then we're going to get into the exclusion of Annie's scorched letter. Okay. So let me just pull this down, and keep in mind all this stuff. Okay. Keep in mind the different connections. What was the buried in nature? What does buried in nature mean to Wiccans? Does someone mention that? But I'm wondering if there's a meaning. They say buried in nature just means a natural, eco-friendly burial that returns the body to the earth without embalming. No metal caskets and anything that slows decomposition. Now, it reflects Wicca's core belief that death is part of the natural cycle and that the body should nourish the earth rather than be sealed away. So in that letter, it says buried in nature. All right. And then also the back doors as well. That buried in nature is alignment with Wiccan spirituality. All right. It actually means something. There's a whole meaning behind that. So let's continue. Let's get on to that. And then we're going to, boy, do I have an episode. We've been here an hour and I feel like I've accomplished nothing. All right. Mike King. We're going to listen to him for a little bit.
We don't chase conspiracy theories, and we don't convict people from a keyboard. We try to ask some hard questions. We try to keep our feet planted in the evidence.
Yep.
So please, folks, take a moment. Hit the like and subscribe button as we get started. And if this is...
Now, guys, don't forget, I put the links in my description. So if you need to find out who it is and I didn't put it there, just ask the mods. All right. And I'll try to do my best to put everything I can in. Thank you, Golden Hen, for the $20 super chat. Being buried in nature refers to a natural burial. Or green, eco-friendly, practice that allows human body to return and decompose naturally. There's a whole thing for the Wiccans. I pulled it up and they were like, got a whole section in the Wiccan Bible about that. I'm like, wow, that's weird, man. Wow. Yeah, I love Mike King too. All right, let's get into it. You guys go sub up to him as well. I've been following him for years.
One strange phrase might tell us more than we first thought. You know, I just appeared on Newsmax to talk about the Nancy Guthrie case.
Well, I think a couple of things jumped out to me, and it's great to see Scott. The first note is about money. The second seems to be about apology. And in that, we only have a small portion of information. We don't have the full letter, so we can't really analyze it. We can't really understand how much of that might be the actual individual, their education level, even their ethnicity or background. But what we can start to think about are things like, is it AI generated to provide help? Are the actual terms that are being used, which really jumped out to me, like buried in nature? Are they more of a
Now listen, when I talk about Wiccans and stuff like that, Foxy, I'm just being silly when I say a whole Bible. I'm not into that. I'm not trying to bash it. I'm just looking at what I have seen throughout the case and the fact that Annie's a Wiccan and that Savannah has said she's got magical powers and things like that. I really don't want to know Wiccan practices and what they do and who they are. I don't care. And here's the thing, Mrs. Redhead, you say Wiccans are generally not violent, but maybe it's not Annie and Tommaso. Maybe it's friends of their circle that knew that she was there alone because they mentioned something and they wanted it to look like it was Annie or Tommaso because, right? So it doesn't mean I'm saying that it was a Wiccan that did this. I'm just telling you what these things mean to the Wiccans and the fact that Annie is a Wiccan and probably a lot of her friends that surround her. All right. Those are the people in the circle that I keep going back to. All right. So yeah, I'm not trying to say anything bad about Wiccans as a whole.
translation issue, or is it really the way the person talks? So I think there's a ton of information behaviorally in there that we can glean from. We can also start to see this transition that the offenders go from maybe what might be considered organized to more of a disorganized state.
Oh.
Well, I think it points, number one, to the fact that they might have actually walked into this with a plan and a little bit of planning.
Yep.
Whether it was poor or not is yet to be seen. But what we see is the thing falls apart on them. And likely it was Nancy's health condition that caused this transition into a disorganized thought pattern. We also have to take into consideration that the offenders, or the predators in this case, might actually be trying to set the stage that they aren't as bad as it might seem. It's their way of kind of controlling the narrative that, hey, things maybe got out of hand. It could be an indication of multiple people involved, some that actually were the physical perpetrator that takes Nancy, commits the burglary, then takes her, or that there's a secondary person that's trying to communicate and carry on what's going on. And again, I think it's so important that we think about the words that are being said, that kind of awkward English translation that occurs, because they might just be trying to convey, here's where she is, but they aren't using the correct English.
And shortly after the appearance, the reporting about the second ransom note became a much bigger part of the public disclosure and discussion right now.
And this is the guy, I mean, Mike King is the guy that has literally written the book on cults, and he gets an LDS. And I mean, he's deep into these things that we're talking about. All right. I'm just trying to touch the surface of the verbiage and what the tone seems to be in these letters. Derek did not have court this week, or he's going to have court, and they didn't give me a date. They only said early July he plans to change his plea. So I looked that up already. Derek is heavily involved because he's the only person that's actually been arrested and was going to go to trial, but I think he's going to take a plea deal, guys. Wiccan here. What's up? Jennifer, how you doing? Good to see you. They forgot the sheriff in that chart. Yeah, a lot of people put the sheriff in that chart, but I'm not trying to go there. He is an idiot, in my opinion, though. And he messed up the first 4 days majorly.
Now that changes how we talk about this case, because we're not just dealing with a general ransom demand anymore. We're now dealing with a second communication that reportedly said that Nancy died shortly after she was taken, and that she was, quote, buried in nature, close quote. Now, that phrase, buried in nature, doesn't sound like normal everyday English.
Hey.
Most people would probably say she's buried in the desert, or buried outside of town, maybe buried in a remote area like the mountains, or a wash, or...
Again, this is what we're talking about. I didn't get the idea from Mike King. He's the one that was talking about it, and I was thinking about it, and I saw this come through. I'm like, this is perfect. What's up, Queen? How you doing? Good to see you, my friend. Thank you. Derek Collella's next court date is going to be July 2nd, and he plans to change his plea from not guilty to we don't know. Remember, there's a no contest plea. He can plead no contest, still get the slap on the wrist that he's going to get, give them the information that they want, and move on with his day. All right. It doesn't mean because he's changing it that he's going to plead guilty. There are other options in between. All right. Let's continue.
Someplace rural, buried in nature is understandable, but it's not the way most people would naturally speak it. So when I hear that kind of language, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I do want to question whether it could be telling investigators something about the person who wrote it or the way in which they wrote it. Now, Nancy Guthrie was taken from her Tucson area home in the early morning hours of February 1st of 2026. She's 84 years old. She had mobility issues, and investigators quickly treated this far more than a voluntary disappearance. Her phone and her wallet, her vehicle were reportedly left behind. And there were things at the home that caused investigators to believe that she'd been taken against her will. Now, these are really important facts that we need to consider as we look at this case. But then came the ransom communications.
Now, again, guys, there's two ways that I can take the "we didn't kill her, she just died." Number one, it's somebody that I've been saying that has in the inner circle, or here's the inner circle and the outer circle, but knows the inner circle and is trying to either get rid of that regret, remorse that they feel, or they're just already setting up their alibi for when they do get arrested. They know that the charge of killing her and doing this gruesome act for millions of dollars is going to be a lot heavier than if they say, you know, we only went in there to rob her. We didn't know she had a heart condition and she had a heart attack and we decided not to leave her. So we took her out and then so you see what I'm saying? They might be setting up for something like that. But yeah, people don't use the words perish. Hence why I read the two of Annie's poems, because it sounds like that. Anyway, let's go. Someone could also be doing that too, right? They framed me.
The first note reportedly demanded millions of dollars in cryptocurrency for Nancy's return. But now the second note is being reported more fully. We haven't seen the note, though. We've only heard what they're telling us. But according to those reports, it says Nancy died shortly after the abduction and that she was buried in nature. That's a really different kind of message from a ransom demand. A ransom demand is usually about control. The offender is trying to make the family do something like pay money or follow instructions or stay quiet or just wait for another message. But in a case like that, the offender is trying to create some leverage. But this second note, claiming that the victim has died, changes the whole posture of the case. It might even suggest that the offender lost control early, or that Nancy was injured during the abduction, or movement from the home, or some effort to restrain her.
It's okay.
It might also suggest that the offender never had a workable plan for keeping this elderly woman alive while they tried to collect.
You guys got to tell me this is spot on of what I've been saying on my channel the entire time. And I'm trying to let Mike get this out because, like I said, he is a freaking, he's a genius at what he does. I mean, he's just smart. He's got years and years behind him, lots of research. He's seeing what we see and he's telling us what he thinks. And it's spot on, right? Yes, this guy is good. I don't want to interrupt him too much because yeah, he's just nailing it. Again, he's a profiling evil.
Collect the ransom money. Now, it could also be just an excuse, a red herring, because when offenders say a death was accidental or unintended, we need to really listen to the language that's being used, and we shouldn't accept it as truth just because they're saying it. Now, this kind of wording can be an attempt to reduce blame. It can be a way of saying, hey, I'm not as bad as you think I am. It could be a way of shifting the public's perception from this being something about deliberate harm to just a terrible mistake. And in some cases, that might actually be true. But in other cases, it could be manipulation after the fact. And that's why the wording deserves our attention. Buried in nature might be a literal phrase, but also could be just awkward English. It might reflect somebody who's using translation software or somebody who's thinking in another language and then trying to write it in English. For instance, in Spanish, la naturaleza or naturaleza. I don't know how to say that in Spanish. That means nature in Spanish. Now, somebody using that word, especially through a translator app, might end up with a phrase like in nature. Another word, campo, can refer to the countryside, open land, open areas, areas outside the populated Tucson area. And depending on the context, something like en el campo could mean.
Guess what, guys? I also believe, and I've said this the entire freaking time, that Nancy's body is very close to the proximity, I believe, of where she lives. Now, close meaning I don't think they took her to Mexico and dumped her body. I think that she's actually buried out there, and I can't understand why they're not doing more searches. But when I looked up why they're not doing ground searches as much, because the terrain and the heat and the land is really hard to go through, and it's easier, I guess, to do like a drone over it and see. Now that's never going to be as good as doing a good old foot search, but at the same time, it's hot, it's harsh, you get cut up by the trees. I don't know, you guys tell me. Here you go. It's Zach Peter. You guys have been asking about the little twink boy that was on there earlier. It's Zach Peter. He's the one that, he was telling us, hey, YouTubers need to have respect, but we all, whatever. He's in the middle. Let's continue. That's Zach Peter. Synth, you hear me?
Out in the country or out in the land or outside of town away from people. Now, around Tucson, that could easily be misunderstood as out in the desert or out in a remote area.
No.
Now, there's also the word desierto for desert, but that can also carry the idea of a deserted, unpopulated place. And I massacred these in Spanish, and I apologize, but from a language perspective, it's possible that buried in nature was just somebody's way of saying that Nancy's buried away from town.
Now, here's the thing, Cheryl. I do know that Exploring with Jim and the other people are out there. I haven't been following them because, frankly, it's like watching paint dry. Kudos to them. But I wish that FBI and law enforcement would put a team together, because Exploring with Jim and these people, that's great. But it's not law enforcement, and it's not going to stick in the way that if they were to find it. What if they didn't find something and now they messed up the evidence for a trial that we're never going to have? I think that's just my deal. Either that or Pima County should be working with these people to make sure that they're doing it properly. All right. Right? Exactly.
Somewhere remote or somewhere in the desert. But we have to be really careful here, because it doesn't mean the offender is Spanish. Doesn't mean they're Spanish speaking, or the phrase is tied to a race or a gender or countryside. And thinking that way would be reckless. But again, I keep thinking about, is this a translation issue to say out in nature? Now, I suspect the investigators are looking more closely at the note for language patterns. They might even be examining whether the wording looks like natural English or translated English, perhaps disguised writing, or somebody who's just trying to sound different than they normally would sound. They might compare the language in the first note with the language in the second note to see what's different. They might be looking at spelling and punctuation and word choice, the timing, the routing, the IP information. All of this details information that could identify the people behind the message or the person behind the message.
Yep.
And one phrase won't solve a case usually, but it can become useful when it fits with the other evidence that they have in this case. Now, there's also another possibility. The phrase in nature may have been chosen because it sounds softer than the reality. Buried in nature sounds less harsh than buried in the desert or buried in a shallow grave. And it almost tries to make the disposal of the body sound peaceful or natural.
And you guys, are you hearing this? Like, do you see what? I mean, I don't think somebody that just really hates Savannah's guts is going to write that, unless they really are like, let's just totally throw her off. In that instance, I don't think so, because we've already said we think that these kidnappers or kidnapper that never was really a kidnapping in the first place, right? They're not as smart as I think we're giving them credit for. All right. We're going to get into the actual physical letters in a minute and what we're talking about. But this is pertaining to the note that came out, Buried in Nature.
And this is something offenders do to try to distance themselves from the ugliness of what they've done. They try to use softer words, or they wrap violence in vague language, and they try to make their conduct feel less cruel than it truly is. And if that's what's happening here, then the phrase might be telling us something about the offender's mindset. It could be suggesting that somebody's trying to manage their guilt or reduce blame or manipulate the Guthrie family or control the public narrative. But again, it has to be tested against the evidence, not just talked about online until it becomes accepted as some kind of goofy fact.
Yeah.
And the second note might also show a shift in the control, because the first message was all about ransom. The second message seems to be all about death. And then something changes. Either Nancy died, or the offender had to respond to the reality of that, or maybe they decided the ransom plan was no longer workable, so they're shifting the message. And that shift could suggest panic or poor planning, or that maybe more than one person's involved and they're arguing about how to do this. It's possible that one person carried out the abduction and another person is handling the communication. And it's also possible that one person is trying to appear more organized than they really are. A ransom kidnapping requires planning.
And many people don't think that, but we don't think that they planned this, right? The fact that this person, that they're these masterminds, all right? What do you want me to do a poll of, Carrie? I don't know if I could do one. I think I can, but tell me what you want me to text me, what you want me to do a poll of, because I can't grab it from here. All right, let's continue. We're going to get into the actual Annie's scorched earth. All right. Her scorched earth card and what she left for the memorial. And I want you to remember also in that memorial, after listening to this, hearing what this profiler that has a ton of experience, go check him out. He knows what he's talking about. Oh, okay. All right. Who do they think to? Okay. All right. Interesting. 92% of its family. All right, let's continue, because I do want to get to the breakdown of writing notes and all that.
And patience. It requires transportation and concealment, communication, and a way to control the victim. And they've got to have a way to collect the money without being caught. And based on what's been publicly reported, this doesn't look like a clean, disciplined ransom operation, because a more disciplined ransom offender usually has more control. They want more control of the communications as well. They want a clear channel of communication. They want instructions and a workable way to receive the payment. And what we appear to have here is a media-directed communication. The cryptocurrency demands, the second note, all of it is just showing a little disorganization. The entire combination feels disorganized and unstable. It feels more like somebody that's lost control or quickly wants us to believe that they lost control. And here's where the second ransom note is really important, because it gives us enough language to ask some serious questions, but not enough information to start labeling the offender. So the phrases that have been reported are things like, they never intended to hurt her, or she perished shortly after she was taken. She's buried in nature now. And of course, we're truly sorry. But that's not the whole letter. It's only a handful of reported excerpts. So right away, I'd like to caution everybody not to treat this like a full forensic language analysis, because we don't have the beginning. We don't know if we have the middle or the ending. The formatting we don't know about, the punctuation, the payment instructions. We don't know about the metadata that might be behind the scenes, or the word choices and the way the writer moves from one thought to another. Those are the kinds of things that investigators need before they can do a serious statement analysis. But what we can say is that the language sounds unusual. She perished shortly after she was taken. That's not the way most offenders naturally talk. Most people would say things like she died, or more directly, she's dead. It sounds removed, and it can make the death feel less personal and less violent. And this letter doesn't prove any education level, but it might suggest that the writer was trying to sound more careful or distant, or even more polished than they.
I'm telling you right now, it's the distancing that I believe for me. I think that the verbiage, I got it up there. It's already there, guys. Carrie. Okay. So we don't need to beat this to death. You guys hear what I'm saying, and you hear what he's saying, trying to distance, trying to make sure the narrative isn't too harsh, still trying to get the money and apologize and hope that she softens up and will pay without proof of life. And remember, after this point, they already knew that in the second note, it said that she was gone. She was dead. We weren't told that then. We're being told that now. Okay, so we don't know. We don't know how any of that was reacted to or who it came from. But I mean, when it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it might be a duck. Hold on. Let me see.
Goofy suspicions aren't proof. Now, they might be worth pursuing.
Yep.
And I'm not saying we shouldn't ask hard questions. And I'm certainly not saying that the sheriff's office or the FBI should get some kind of a free pass. Just keep in mind that some cases take a long time to solve.
All right. And we hope this is not one of them. I'm going to drop this down 222 in the house. Please say a prayer for Nancy and her family that she gets brought home. All right. The Crypto Zoo, you're a little too late. Alex already came in here. Nobody's bad mouthing him. Finish watching this before you come in here, okay? Thank you. I appreciate that. Oop, wait. Bell B, you should go to my I put a poll up. All right, let's continue. This one's got me. I know a lot of people have covered the way Annie writes and talks and things. I read it earlier and I'm like, what in the hell? But I never looked at this.
But my mother-in-law.
I never looked at this. Okay. Monks just came out with this. When was it, last night, guys? Or yesterday? Today's the 24th. Yesterday's the 23rd. And this is about it now that the it has been revealed that Nancy Guthrie ransom note was addressed directly to Savannah Guthrie the second go around. All right. CBS revealed that the kidnapper's note goes on to describe the exact location. They think it's legit. Now let's get into this. I talk about his mother-in-law or whatever he's saying.
Gave me this pouch of Chinese magic. She says, keep it near me and it'll keep me safe from the demons. Now, before we get to what we want to talk about today, I also want to tell you guys that a drunk turkey contacted me about coming on his show tomorrow night. Now, if you're interested in seeing me be awkward and live again, then I left information in the description below and we'll talk more about it before we end the video today. So let's go ahead and get to why we're out.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. The Crypto Zoo. We know every person's an individual and they get heated. I get heated. Sometimes I go off and get heated. And then at the end, I'm like, damn, I probably shouldn't have said that or shouldn't have done that. I don't think Alex wants to get arrested again. We're all on the same page, man. He's doing his thing and we just want to be respectful. All right, let's continue. Right? It's true though. Listen, so the reason I put that on the poll is because the family in its inner circle could mean that it's not directly Annie and Tommaso that are the puppet master. It could mean that Annie and Tommaso and those people, those are all old bandmates. They all have connections. They could have misheard them, or they could have been having, we're having game night tonight. I gotta go drop my mother-in-law off again, whatever. Okay, that can completely rule them out as being involved, but their circle knowing about the mom and the situation. And then Annie and Tommaso is directly like they're the puppet masters that made this happen, whether they did it themselves or not. Another option, just some random robber. There's a lot of random crime going on in that Pima County. 15%. The crime rate has risen since Sheriff Nanos has been in the office. All right. Last one. Nobody. None of them. So some other buddy that you think. All right. Let's get back to it. That's the poll.
Here today. Okay. So we're going to talk about language. Okay. And how language is very important when trying to convey one's thoughts or describing a situation. Okay. The easier to understand, the more people will understand you, right? The more people that you can reach. However, no matter how many times I tend to overcomplicate things, I will never be as terrible as when a poet tries to explain something. And you guys know what I mean, right? Now,
A poet, guys. I'm telling you, you guys have to stay here. If you just got in here, don't worry about what we talked about earlier. Go back and check that out. This is the second half. And guys, you're not gonna want to miss this one. Cheryl, it's interesting that I'm glad you feel that way about the interconnected with the family, because I do too. And I gotta tell you, Cheryl, even though I cover other cases, I still check this case out every single day to see if anything moved, to see what's happening behind the scenes, to check with my creator friends and see what they're doing, to check with my different mods to see if there's movement. So as much as I'm not doing this case every day like I did with Madeline Soto, because other people need coverage, I'm there with you. All right. I live and breathe this case and several others. So let's continue. I appreciate that. I'm glad that you know a lot more, and I'm glad you feel like that, because I feel like it was the Annie and Tommaso directly with the inner circle.
Oh, don't get me wrong. This is not maybe it is. This is not intended to be an attack on people who write poetry. This is just in context to the subject of needing to understand, the point. If you trust me by now, there is a point to all this.
Next time I'm going to say that. I'm going to say no intent to any Wiccans, tattooed people, gays. Right? All right, let's continue. We're good. We're all good.
Now, if you've been following this channel for any length of time, then you guys know that I hurt my brain trying to analyze Annie and Tommaso's poetry. These two certainly have a way with words that makes you feel like you need a decoder ring to understand English. Well, Tommaso writes his poetry in Italian, but I'm pretty sure they'll need a decoder ring in Italian to understand that as well. The point of doing that was to try to just glean even a sliver of information that may give us an insight into the couple that pretty much has shied away from the public eye, which leaves everything to the public's imagination to wonder how they actually are. They never gave us an opportunity to ask questions in order to help find their missing loved ones. We're wanting from them what other people with missing loved ones would want from us, the public. Now, A&T may give us what we want someday, standing in front of a news camera and letting us know how the last months of their lives have been turned upside down or whatnot. But we do have Annie's poem that...
All right, now, mind you, and I put this up because I wanted you to go back and remember the day that the family went, and to remember the moaning and the over crying, the over emotionality, which may just be that Annie and Tommaso are like that. Maybe they're really sensitive people that pick up on all the vibrations and they don't want low vibrations and whatever. We don't know. I'm not putting the blame squarely at them, but this is the letter that she put down there. And I also showed you some of the writing. Now, this is not the poem. This is a different one, Carrie. Sit down. Wait up. Hold up. All right. And if you start telling me I'm talking too much, you're out of here. I'm just teasing you. But all right, remember the porch guy that we've morphed from monks and all the channels picked up on it. This is not a poem. This is what she wrote and left with the flowers. Okay, let's continue.
She left her mother at the memorial. Now, just going on the assumption that everybody's read this card already, we could easily assume that it's written by Annie. Okay, she uses things like mom or mommy. And so Annie writes, "Mama, we miss you so much. Our hearts are broken. We are standing on ash, on scorched earth. But Mom, though we are surrounded by so much darkness and uncertainty, our love burns bright. We love you, Mommy. We miss you so much. Our best friend." And it seems cut and dry, but let's try our best to break it down anyways. Okay, so Mama, we miss you so much. And she felt the need to add an exclamation point there, kind of like she's...
I'm going to take this out of here so we can see the writing. Yeah, I do know about that. And we talked about it in the last episode that everybody took everything. They stole all the stuff and the family wants it back, allegedly. My episodes, I put the as much as I can. You only get to have a certain amount of words, and so I can't put like every little thing in there. But yeah, all those little red herrings, in my opinion, they're red herrings. All right, let's continue. Distractions.
Showing her emotions, like she's shouting this, conveying that her emotions are so raw and painful at the moment that she feels a need to express herself as screaming for her mother. I felt I was reading the letter in a somber manner. Like I felt like that should have been the mood, the sadness to come through. But when you add an exclamation point, which is to emphasize excitement, it kind of takes away that a bit for me. But that's just a me problem. So I feel it was an interesting choice for Annie to use exclamation points, and she will continue to do so. Now, Annie is supposed to be known as the shy one. Okay, that's why we never see her, and she doesn't offer her presence when she doesn't want to, I guess you could say. So me picturing her screaming these things as is represented in this card is a bit odd for me to imagine. Now, I feel it's fair to point out that it's a little interesting that Annie calls Nancy mommy, okay? Savannah is going to do the same thing in one of the plea videos as well, right? Now, I won't go as far as to say that that is childish. I mean, it comes across that way when you hear someone when you're an adult and you call your mother mommy. I think it's fair for people to feel that a bit childish, but I wouldn't use that word because that it's more along the lines of a term of endearment. And you have to go back to their past and maybe why this is so, because they lost their father at a very young age. I believe Savannah was only 16, which would make Annie about 18. And Cameron was in his early 20s. That is a very young age to lose somebody that was very precious to them. It's a very...
Right. And I love seeing the pictures of them. Again, it brings to life that these are real people, guys. These are real people. No, I can't. Teresa, I don't want to imagine this being my mom. Hence why at the beginning of this show, I said I was talking about it and saying like, hey, if that happened with my mom and there were people that were hanging out in my neighborhood that I didn't want, I'd probably come out raging. Get the F out of here. All right. So it makes it more personal. That's them. They're real people. Okay. And we got to have, we don't have to, but I have empathy and sympathy, and red herrings are not something that is, I don't believe in coincidences in true crime, Bad Ash. I do not. So red herrings are put into place on purpose. Like Mike from Profiling Evil and every other FBI, ex-FBI expert has said, no kidnappers on the face of this planet have ever done a kidnapping and not left a note. And then furthermore, they go to make a note and they send it to TMZ. That's never happened ever. All right. So think of it that way. Alex has always called me mama or mom. I called my mother mommy, but I didn't rotate saying out. You're Alex's mom, Mr. Good Looking, Alex Cooking, Mr. Good Looking. Hey,
traumatic moment. They had to be there for each other. However, it also gives me pause to wonder as well if their relationship with their mother never really advanced past when they were just young girls, right? Like going back to when their father, Charles, right? He died suddenly, and that pain may have frozen in time their bond, their relationship at that moment where they...
I used to say Mama Pearl. I usually say mom when I'm just talking to her, but sometimes I'm like, yes, mama. When she's like, oh, did you take out the trash? You remember it's trash day? Yes, mom. Or sometimes I lighten the mood by calling her mama, and it makes her chuckle, I think. So anyway, I'm not bashing anyone for saying that. It's just hard to imagine Annie being any other way than what we've seen her.
Called Nancy mommy. I mean, it's kind of beautiful in the sense that they call her mommy, okay, when you really think about it along that line. Okay, so anyways, so we're going to move on to the next line. Our hearts are broken. Again, she adds that darn exclamation point. So when I read our, I looked at who signed the card, and that would be Annie, Tommaso, and Olmo, which is their young son, their 13-year-old son, which leads us to believe that she's speaking just for the immediate family, right? Now, I want you guys to notice something that I found intriguing, okay?
Oh my God.
Annie's writing is what we can assume the handwriting experts call chicken scratch. She presses harder than she should, creating those fatter letters with that felt tip marker.
Now, mind you, we don't even really know if it was a typed up letter or handwritten. Do we know that? Like I believe, since I heard that it was coming to these news stations through emails, I believe it was all typed, but I don't know. What's up? Good to see you, Rebecca. It's been a minute. Hello. Everyone say hi. Maybe the neighbors knew she was dead. That's why they didn't want anyone around. Maybe. I mean, she literally might have talked to each neighbor and said, my mom passed away. I don't want that getting out to the media because we're still looking for the perpetrator or perpetrators, and FBI or whoever, Pima County says, don't let that out. So yeah, we don't know. You never know what any of us are going through on a daily basis. All right, let's continue. I don't want to talk too much on my show.
Presumably some magenta colored Sharpie, okay? Now, whoever wrote the names isn't so heavy-handed as Annie and angles the tip of the marker almost straight down to get those thin, lanky letters. Now notice how different Annie, Tommaso, and Omo are written. Yes. Look at the O's in the names, okay? Compare it to the O's written in the body of the card. Whoever wrote the O's in the names always slants it towards the right, okay? Now you can't unsee it, right? Whereas Annie writes just a regular standing O, which leads me to believe that adding the names was an afterthought, not by Annie, but by someone else. That someone else came in after and pretty much made Annie's inclusive letter that she's trying to encompass the entire family and loved ones or whatnot. And by adding names, that person made this an exclusive letter. And so I do believe that Annie wrote this with the idea that it was to encompass all of what her family is feeling, which would include Savannah, it would include Cameron, and anyone else who loved her mother, which is a much more beautiful message, a more complete way for our hearts are broken to be taken. So whoever came in at...
And again, guys, I mean, we're putting puzzle pieces together here because you have to use your brain to think about from the beginning of this episode and us talking about ransom notes and how they came out, which ones were IP checked, so to speak, which match the same IP address, and the verbiage. Everybody's saying it's odd now that we're actually knowing what it says by Brianna Rose, member for 7 months. Thank you. I like your streams. Well, thank you. We like you here. Thank you. I call my 96-year-old mommy when talking to her. What about her? I say, Mom, love Vermont, loves you, Jaywa. Thank you, Coffee and Dog Studio. I call her Mama Pearl on this channel because y'all aren't going to call her Mom. She's my mom. So Mama Pearl is her name here. I don't call her by her name otherwise. That would be weird.
The end essentially ruined that. That person, I will say, pretty much shut the card on anyone else's pain, but their own, which I will say is rather selfish. And like I've mentioned before, the walk to Nancy's memorial, in my opinion, was simply to show solidarity between Savannah and Annie and Tommaso. Do I believe that they're that close? Not really. The last two people to see Nancy Guthrie alive are, of course, going to get heat on them in this case, as it was reported that the police had Tommaso as their person of interest from the very beginning. Okay, so I'm almost certain that this memorial walk, all the hugging and the sobbing, was just as much about Nancy as it was about Annie and Tommaso. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next line. We are standing on ash, on scorched earth. Now, I'm sure this line is the line that has most eyebrows raised. Just one eyebrow, if you are extra appalled, right? Now, I believe what she's trying to express is just pure devastation, okay? That their world has been reduced to ash. It's a very dramatic way to put it, right? But she's a poet, and her words are usually based in metaphor and just not words.
Oh boy, are they, right? You guys have been here since when I read you those two. I couldn't even really read them. It was hard for me to understand, to comprehend that kind of writing, because I don't sit there and read poetry. I don't write poetry. And in poetry, there a lot of times there's no, you don't have the commas and the things. It's just kind of right. So think of that. Think of that, and then using AI on top of it.
Words that, normal people writing would use. Then she uses the dreaded exclamation point again. The letter continues, but Mom, though we are surrounded by so much darkness and uncertainty, our love burns bright. She's saying that even though she's standing on this scorched earth, that they still have a lot of love and hope, that they're going to show resilience, past all this darkness, keep the faith, blowing on the embers of hope, I believe, because of how much they love their mother. And so she ends it with, we love you, Mommy. We miss you so much. Our best friend. And she ends it with 2 exclamation points. So the card ends pretty clearly. All right, nothing to explain. Overall, a good card to give homage to their mother, until, of course, that someone came in to slam this card shut by excluding everyone else by writing.
That's funny. You said that's a whack letter. That's so funny, man. My kind of poetry is roses are red and violets are blue. Yeah, I'm exactly. Or the chicken and macaroni. That's my kind of poetry.
Down their names. Now, that's pretty much what I want to express about that card. Let me know if you guys agree or not, or how you would, interpret this. So we're going to naturally pivot to the supposed snippets of that second ransom that everybody is talking about. And that message would be that Nancy perished shortly after being taken and that she is buried now in nature.
Guys, tell me this is not, again, this is not, this is my episode, obviously, that I put together, right? You guys know I work all day long and I listen with one ear to work and what I'm doing there. I listen to another with what I'm trying to research. The girls help me, etc. Thank you, Cuff, you particularly today. I know the other ladies are a little burnt out on this case, probably. Yeah, this is from Annie. This is Annie. That's why I'm saying that this is why I put the things in sequence the way I did, to tell you a story of what I think. All right, let's continue. This is the second one, guys. This is the second ransom note that I've already played twice now. All right, it's the second one. We're actually getting the actual verbiage from Brianna at KOLD. All right, let's continue.
Okay, so the interesting thing about this letter is that it's not a ransom note. They don't make any mention of money that we could see. Now, it's also been clarified by Brian Enton that this letter is also not an apology letter, which has been circulating that it was, sorry she died, but it wasn't. It's more or less a statement about what happened to Nancy. Now, for me, it could only be one of 2 things. It was definitely emailed by someone who is highly sophisticated, a highly sophisticated troll, possibly, that knows how not to be tracked by even the likes of the FBI. Now, the purpose of creating such a prank is beyond me, except to know that there are all types of strange individuals out there in this world. So let's go ahead and move on to the next avenue. And of course, that this message is actually coming from someone involved in Nancy's kidnapping. Is this the letter that...
Well, listen, and we're going to get into that. Is this the letter? All right. This is how we get collabs. So what I do is I use their coverage. I tag every single one of them, and I definitely am real about it. I'm going to sit there and tell you. I'm not going to sit there and say, I love Monk and be all fake. I'm going to say, Monk's dope. I agree with him, but this I don't agree with. That's not right. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I do here. I react on my channel. I give you guys information. I try to stay with the facts, give you my opinions. And yes, I'd love to collab with Monk. He's been doing collabs with the Interview Room. Again, Fugitive TV, Flojo, Mab, anyone that wants to collab. All right. All right. I'll put that up for a second. Let's continue. Now we're getting to ransom note number 2, which is the topic of today's episode.
Savannah referenced as tending to believe is real, okay? Something the FBI took very seriously, according to TMZ. So if so, then we're being told that Nancy was alive when she was taken. But the concerning part, of course, was that she perished shortly after. We let our imaginations run wild, right? Was she roughed up because she still had a lot of fight in her? Did her heart eventually give out because of this traumatic event? Why did she perish so shortly after? Now, if I had to guess, right? I would assume she wasn't handled in any gentle manner in order to get her out of her own house. Nancy, to me, anybody, no matter how weak you are gonna give it everything if you are being taken out of your own house against your will. And so moving on to the next line, that she is now buried in nature. Well, that could be anywhere. Perished and buried in nature. And if you think about it,
again, I wonder if someone is trying to represent the way she writes. And, again, right? He's doing a panel later. I sent you the link. Thank you, Flojo. I appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate that, Kat. I really do.
that is a bit of eloquent writing, don't you think? Early on, it was speculated that Mexicans from across the border, right, possibly the cartel, took Nancy. And when that Portuguese video came out, didn't we all think that he looked like a bumbling idiot? If that was so, and even if we were just dealing with the run-of-the-mill criminals, okay, wouldn't we get some letter worded more crudely? Something like, she died shortly after and we buried her. And now you can hear the contrast, right? As opposed to she perished shortly after and is now buried in nature. And I will say, it almost sounds poetic. My name is Monks. And
it's so tough to say it sounds poetic. The moment you hear that word, damn, who are the people that are poets? And would the cartel write something like that? Oh, he's on the Drunk Turkey show too.
And let's get on to that fun news. I will be interviewed by a drunk turkey. And I must say, Daniel, I respect the work that you've been doing with the Nancy Guthrie case, and I found it very well thought out. He even had Chris McDonough on one of his episodes, so he's definitely running a great show over there. So I, too, will be on his show tomorrow night, Wednesday, June 23rd at roughly 8:30 Central. And
all right, so that was yesterday. I guess he was here. You guys go sub up to Monk. How far are we in? 2 hours and 16 minutes. So I read you an article at the very beginning about the tones and stuff from and it was quoted from Maureen. Is it Maureen O'Connell? Do you guys want to stay here a few more minutes to listen to this? This is the significance of what they call a feminine tone in that second note. All right, they say there's a feminine tone, and they're going to tell you why. Again, Maureen O'Connell is the one that is saying she has inside information from the FBI, and Maureen says she's 75% sure that they're going to solve this case. They're telling her they're 75% on their way to finding out who Porch Guy is. All right.
Point a little bit more, maybe expand on that. Like, buried with nature. We never intended to hurt her. Even like she perished. Was that word used? I wonder, because that jumped out at me. That's not really how people talk. And then the nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome.
Like, don't blame
like
yourself.
the weird.
Yeah. It's
Dude,
just very conciliatory and very.
Now listen, that I have to. I'm sorry. I know we just started this, but I have to. The don't blame yourself part. That, and remember, this second note that says she was buried in nature was directed specifically for Savannah Guthrie. Okay. And do you remember when Savannah Guthrie did the interview with I can't remember her name, Hoda Kobe, she has a weird name. Anyhow, she said, she was crying and saying, I can't help but think I brought these people into the house because I put my mom's bedroom. She was sobbing, saying it was her fault. All right. Why would anyone give two shits about how Savannah feels? All right. Just think about that. I mean, when I say that, why would anybody that did this horrendous crime, committed this crime against their Nancy, Savannah's mom, why would they give two shits if she feels responsible or not? That makes no sense to me. And they don't ask for money. They directed this letter to Savannah. In this letter, they told Savannah her mom is dead. And third, they never asked for any money. It was just a note that was apologetic, maybe remorseful. That doesn't make any sense. None.
Strange, considering the facts of this investigation, of this case, of this poor woman, to talk this way. Any self-respecting criminal would at least be a little more honest about what happened here. They're trying to
Best-
soften
Mhm.
what they did. And please don't blame yourself. I hope you're not being too hard on yourself. It's so weird.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
because I mean, if you're following
Yes.
their logic, they had said in the original note on February 2nd, and again, Sunday was the 1st, give us $4 million by Thursday or else. Again, using the term actual or else. And now here we are. They haven't paid.
Thank
and
you,
they're writing the
Clementine.
note saying she's gone. Oh, and by the
Thank you.
way, there was nothing that you could have done to have changed the outcome. So they seem to be saying, you didn't give us our $4 million, but don't worry, she was dead anyway. Even if you'd given us the money, it wouldn't
Yep.
have panned out for you.
Exactly.
But if you want to give us money anyway, we could get the body back to you, I guess. Or at least maybe that's
So do you hear what she's saying? That is what somebody would say that has no connection to the family and doesn't give two shits about what Savannah or anybody thinks. All they care about is getting Bitcoin in that freaking wallet because they got nothing out of the house. All right, let's continue.
that's just still lurking out there. It's implied. It's not clear in Brianna's description of it.
Yes, we are
Nora's
the
talking
same.
about, but that original, because the original note we know, James said 4 million by Thursday, 6 million by the following Monday. If you wait, it's going to cost you more.
Right.
Then comes the second note. Like, why would they send the second note? Like, hey, FYI, she died, and don't blame yourself. Like, what's the point of that?
Well, it looks like they also didn't give any real particulars on how to get that 4 million to them. It doesn't sound like there was any clear communication given, this is how you would respond to me, get back to me. And then they're just double tapping, hey, by the way, it's not worth it now because she's gone and we're sorry, but you can still give me some money because I get the body back to you. But I think you and Maureen are nailing a couple of really important things, if true, that, she's with nature instead of saying, she's gone with God. I mean, if you're following the case, that, that Nancy was a believer. And so that would track with her, this note person saying it was a heart condition, which would track with, if you're following the case, about the pacemaker. But saying that she is buried with nature is interesting. That needs to be looked into. And there's plenty of people who are really smart and can put words together and study language and really the context of a statement like that. Is that said in certain parts of the world? And certainly I hope the FBI is looking into something like that, because that's just a very interesting phrase. And then what you had said earlier, Megan, about, we didn't realize the extent of her condition. It kind of drew me to one of, the two things, which is, I thought initially that there was some pre-operational surveillance, meaning they looked at the house and maybe even looked at her. And then whether or not that was because she was Savannah's, mother, or because it's in line with this nice house, nice theory. We were talking earlier about, a crime gang hitting these nice houses, but still both would speak to pre-operational surveillance. And maybe that's what she's, the note writer is alluding to, is when we looked at it, we didn't realize she was that, kind of old or fragile. And I thought that was very interesting.
There's reaction today from Savannah herself, who did address this on the Today Show this morning. It's like you kind of forget that she's back doing her job without any resolution in this case, which she has to do. We all have a job to do. She has a job to do, but like then this story is in the news again, and she felt the need to respond for obvious reasons. And here's what she said.
The bravery and courage with which you have done this job every day since that happened, nothing short of remarkable.
Wow.
Nothing short of remarkable.
I love you guys and I love this place. And this is unusual and unprecedented, to say the least, to be sitting here. But, I don't have any comment on the story, and I'm not involved in our coverage. But I can't pretend I'm not here. And so since I am, I wanted to just take the opportunity to ask people to beg people to come forward. Somebody knows something. And this is a new story today that is on your radar, but this is the life that my sister lives, that I live, that my brother lives, that our extended families live, that our children live every day. And we are in agony. And we cannot be at peace. So no matter how much I try to come out here every day and smile and find out joy, and I will, I promise I will. This is a moment to tell you that we need your help. We're begging for your help. And I'm not going to miss that opportunity. And so please, if you're watching, no matter how small, the reward is there. You can tell us. It can be anonymous. Please do the right thing for us, for our family, for our children. And we love our mom, and we'll never stop looking for her, never.
I'm gonna react to that every time because I just feel for her. Like I can't even imagine, and I don't want to. And that's why I say you never know what's going on in someone's life. Just be a little sympathetic and try to cool your. Same with me. So I gotta cool my jets sometimes. I know people come on here. Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe someone's mom or family got kidnapped. We don't know what the circumstances are, but we want to be better than that. We want to be better. Yes, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying that, because I really do have so much sympathy and empathy for Savannah. I can't even I feel for her. I don't know. I know there's other opinions. Oh, she seems like she's fake and this and that. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing it. All right, let's continue.
I wish he had mentioned the reward too, because it's like somebody that the reward actually could motivate somebody to come forward. And that is something we should discuss, because Howard's reporting, and I know Howard Blum, he's very solid. Like I don't know how he gets the information he gets, but he gets really good exclusives. And his reporting is that this task force that we've all discussed before, that's what remains on the investigatory team now. And it's a combo of FBI and Tucson cops, detectives. But the task force has like expressed some regret, from the sound of it, about not paying the ransom.
Me too.
Like that if they had just paid, if the FBI had agreed to pay the ransom, or tell Savannah to pay the ransom, that $4 million in the beginning, that the FBI really feels confident in its
ability. I'm gonna stop for a second. I did miss Megan Kelly at the booth. I didn't get to see her, but I'm glad you said something, Sid, because I was just gonna ask you about Vinny, if you were sitting there or you standing there when I was talking to him. And yeah, he's real too. He's captivating, but he's down to earth and he's real. And he said she's one of the most sincerest and nicest people. When she walks in the room, she's like a bright light shines on you. Yeah, nobody's perfect and nobody's anything, they're not better because they're very spiritual, into God, into Jesus. She is that. Synth, thank you for saying that, because I did ask Vinny, what do you think about Savannah? And he went on to tell me, and this was at CrimeCon, and he was just walking around. We stopped to talk to him, and I asked him, what do you think about Savannah Guthrie? And that's what he said about her. All right, let's continue. And I believe it.
Ability to track the Bitcoin, James. It's Bitcoin. So it's not just like cashing a check. It's going to be
I
a lot harder to track
know.
it. But that at some point, the Bitcoin has to be withdrawn, or does the kidnapper no good? And so why didn't they just pay the $4 million
I know,
and then
right?
track the Bitcoin and arrest the perpetrator? Because what he writes is that, and we had speculated about this, instead they decided to, quote, tickle the wire. And remember, we talked about how Harvey Levin had reported that there had been a $300 deposit made into the bank account of whomever wrote those first two notes, into the Bitcoin account. And no one bit. No one touched it. Now, he's reporting it's a different number, like $141 that was deposited, but it's neither here nor there. The point is, the FBI, according to him, did, in fact, this is the first confirmation we've had that it was the FBI who put the money in, and that it was an attempt to tickle the wire, James. They thought maybe the kidnapper would be dumb enough to take it. And Howard reports,
but it was such a low amount. Guys, I just put out the article, and thank you, Carrie, for sending that to me. When you're done here, go check out what I put out there. I believe that was a huge mistake, and you can see the look on Maureen's face right now, that she's talking about them putting money to tickle the wire, so to speak. It just simply was not enough, and it was almost like a slap in the face. Juanita, thank you for coming back. I'm glad you caught the show. The show's awesome tonight. The way everyone's interacting, I'm learning so much about the case. You put it together beautifully and respectfully. Thank you, Jay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. No one's going to take a little bit of the money. I know it was only 151. Thank you. What's up? Yes, that's a slap in the face. $151.52. You might as well just slap me and call my mama. I won't say what. Thank you so much, Nina Drew, for the $2 super sticker. Appreciate you. I'm glad you're here tonight.
that either the kidnapper was like, nice try, right, and knew it was a trap, or just wasn't interested in risking anything for $100. So your thoughts on whether they should have paid it? Like, if they're really believing this note was legit, as Savannah does, and her information definitely comes from them,
that sucks,
and that they had all these things right about the Nancy scene and Nancy herself, and now we know more about what the two notes sounded like. Like, why didn't they just pay?
It's because protocol. We got to remember that the reality is we still never had a proof of life ever. So the first note, didn't indicate anything like a picture of her, anything. Yeah, we do have some information about the watch, but that would not be specific enough that the Bureau would say, yeah, just go ahead and launch $4 million. Because if you do, and
yeah, but listen, respectfully, sir, nobody wants $4 million. They did that because they thought they could, but they asked for half a Bitcoin. And in all honesty, guys, I mean, it doesn't matter how much money she has or how broke I am. I would give a minimum of 10,000 just to not slap them in the face, knowing they had my mom's body, knowing she's already dead. You know, you're not going to get a proof of life. At least fucking sorry, I don't mean to cuss. At least put 10K in there. 10K is going to tempt somebody to get that out. What were they trying to get her killed? That doesn't make sense. And yes, I'm sure Savannah feels guilt about that, but it's not her fault.
You don't get her back because it's a scammer, then there's going to be more $4 million requests, and you're going to keep playing that game until you run out of money. And so that's why they don't do it, is because if you don't have any, real legitimacy, and the only way you can really get that legitimacy is you've got to show us this person that you say you have. They just can't do that. And that's, and it's a question I asked too, if they believe so much, but that protocol is there for a very good reason. And I, it might sound callous, but I agree that, they shouldn't have paid the $4 million without an actual proof of life of Miss Guthrie.
I just don't understand, Maureen, what kind of a kidnapper? If you go with this is the kidnapper, what is the point? What is the point of on Thursday after they've missed the deadline, sending a follow-up saying she's dead? She's dead now. We didn't intend to hurt her. It's not your fault. We think it was the heart. Nothing you could have done. What is the point?
The point is they're amateurs. And they, and I have to first go back for a minute, if I could, to James, because if in fact they did pay the ransom without any proof of life, what precedent does that set for every other person who's kidnapped? Everyone's going to jump out of the woodwork even more than they do right now, because you saw the predators pounce when that
Right,
award.
but can we really say there's no proof of life? I'm just going to play devil's advocate. When the first note allegedly said, this is what she was wearing. This is where her Apple Watch was, and check out the broken floodlight on this part of the home. That's our proof that we have her and we were there. Does that qualify? That's more than saying nothing.
Sure, but it's not
No?
enough
You
to
both
say
say
that
no.
she's not dead. I mean, if you just consider how they transported her, or how they had to transport her. So she's bleeding from presumably her mouth, which they already know by now because they've tested that blood to see if saliva was in it or whatever on the front porch. So she's bleeding from her mouth. She's 84 years old. She has no medication with her. She's very frail. She's scared to death, and there's no proof of life. They obviously spoke with her doctors. They've talked with family members. You could see from watching her on Savannah's show how frail she was. So if they were doing pre-incident surveillance, they saw her with a walker or a cane going very slowly around her backyard. And when it's really hot and dry like that, it's difficult you could see someone breathing with labor. It's you have to have proof of life. It does sound callous, again, to Jim's point, but I agree with it, actually.
And that's what they work on, what they're told to do. They're not just making this up. And half a Bitcoin changes all the time. But back then, when they asked for half a Bitcoin, it was at $70,000 for one Bitcoin, which 35,000 would be the other half. Now, I wanted to answer your question, Angel of Truth, in case anyone else was wondering the same thing. That has nothing to do with them being able to track her or not. At this point, they're trying to find out who the perpetrator is. They believe that this ransom note is real. Had they sent half a Bitcoin, then the person would have probably been tempted to get the 35,000 out and think that they're going to get away with it. Because they only put $151.52 or whatever the hell, they looked at it and said, I'm not going to touch that money. That's not even worth me letting them know who I am and where I'm from, so they could track it. So that has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is, Yep. All right, let's continue. Good night, Synth. We're almost out of here, too. Have a good one.
I mean, like in
All right, how do
negotiation,
you
I mean,
like
they
this
teach
one?
you.
Yeah, go, James.
I'm sorry, Maggie.
No, you go.
Just in negotiation school, I mean, they teach, obviously we want to establish communication, rapport, but we got to keep the goal in mind. And we both have the same goal here. I mean, I want to get her, if I'm working this as a negotiator and I'm talking to the kidnapper, look, I want her back and you want to give her to me because you want your money. So we have a common ground here, but for me to get this money, because $4 million, I don't have it laying around. I got to go get that. But before I go get it, can you prove to me you have her? And it can't be that there's a floodlight out that you could have got from a, Google Earth overview or some, previous story, because Megan, you did a great job playing all the previous stories of interviews that Savannah had done with her mom, where I could have seen that Apple Watch. I could have seen the details of that inside of her bedroom. I could have told you the nightgown she likes to wear. I could have told you the color of her pillows. All things I would have got from, open source. I wasn't a kidnapper, but I would have seen those things, they were open to me. So what we would be looking for is give me something else, like prove to me you have her, which is why you always see the newspaper clipping, the hostage holds the newspaper of the day. So we know, okay, we still have a live body, and then we can negotiate in
James,
good faith.
if you're fake, if this is a faker, okay, I'm with you. I accept all that. But like, if you're a faker, why would you send that second note? I can actually kind of follow where the real kidnapper might do it. Like if the real kidnapper has her, it's Tuesday night. Sorry, it's the first was Sunday when she was taken, right? Yes. And then the notes came on the second and third. So you have her, you want the money. So you're sending out the notes on Monday and Tuesday saying 4 million by Thursday, 6 million if you wait till Sunday. And you offer enough detail in there to convince somebody you have her. This is what she was wearing. This is where the Apple Watch was. And this is what the floodlight looked like. Then you watch the world explode over your note, all the speculation, all the stuff. And then let's not forget, one of the first things the Guthrie family said, Savannah in particular, right away was she desperately needs her medication. Like she said, she's not going to survive without her heart medication. And we were never sure whether that was 100% true or whether it was an attempt to ratchet up the urgency for the kidnappers. Like, we need her back ASAP. Maybe it was 100% true.
And again, we're just going to keep coming back to why was that note sent without any meaning or asking for anything. And I agree. I'm gonna just read that real quick. So Foxy's into crypto. She knows about it. Typically when you send somebody crypto directly, you're always going to send a small amount first to confirm the address, because if you send the entire thing and you get the wrong address, you're not going to get it back. But I'm going to keep reading this. And I agree with what you're saying. That's the truth. But in this situation, it's a bit different. But so generally you don't send a large amount until the recipient indicates that you have the correct account. I don't think they ever received the 150 to have the rest released. As a crypto person, that makes the most sense as to what I see. And I can see that side of it too, because that's how it typically goes down. But you also don't typically get messages from kidnappers asking for Bitcoin first and then telling you, yeah, your mom's dead anyway, and don't ask for anything. All right. So thank you. That explanation was perfect. And Bitcoin today, right this very second, is currently for one Bitcoin at 60,746.56. One of the fraudulent letters asked for just a half a Bitcoin, which would be 30,000, to tell where the body was. All right. But they don't believe that was real. And it didn't come from the same IP address as the first two that they think are legitimate.
And she dies. So now she dies. So you can't give proof of life. There's no more life. You have Nancy, but it's a body now. And maybe by the time they sent this follow-up note on February 6th, it was the day after the ransom was due and not paid. Maybe by that day you decided to take a different tactic. You've got to fess up. You cannot provide proof of life. There's not going to be any talking to Nancy or pictures of Nancy holding the daily paper. So you decide to come clean, saying she's dead. But I don't know whether it's explicit in here, according to that Brianna. It's not, but maybe the theory is the earlier demand will stand, and maybe they will pay us for the return of the body. And indeed, that is what Savannah responds with. So that makes sense to me. But if you are a fake kidnapper just trying to get Bitcoin, 4 million or 6 million, that second note makes no sense.
Well, I'm surprised you haven't been through this, because I know I haven't. I think probably Maureen has too. But when someone's trying to get something from you, they just keep trying. They don't stop. Right? They're incessant about it. It never ends. They just keep coming. And so they hang on for anything. And that's why you send the second note is, oh, maybe I say the right things. Maybe I sound like you all had said earlier. Maybe if I sound apologetic or I sound sympathetic, that maybe, you'll send me some money, because I have nothing right now. If I'm a scammer, I have no money right now. Maybe I can get 100 grand from you if I tell you where the body is, and that's typical 101 fraudster mentality and methodology. That's exactly what they do. So the second note doesn't surprise me at all.
You wouldn't expect them to write the second note ratcheting it up. Like, she's hurting, she's scared, which, by the way, someone, I think it was Harvey, reported was in the first note that she was scared.
She's okay, but she's scared.
And then, so the second note, you ratchet that up, get Savannah upset. She's the one with the deep pockets. Like, let's scare her, as opposed to run the risk of her being like, well, I'm not paying $4 million for, somebody who may or may not have a body.
Well, notice it worked because she went on Instagram the next day on the 7th saying, hey, we hear you and we'll pay. So what happened? That's the good question is, okay, what happened from the Instagram post to this, IP address? Why was there no more contact, right? What happened then? Because there's no one reporting on any of that.
Question.
Nobody, right?
Okay.
So what happened?
Here, Maureen, did you want to weigh in? Because I have another thing I want to bring up. But
We're,
you go first.
we're missing a lot of pieces of information, and without them, it's going to be hard. But I think part of what happened with the second note is they're trying to take their foot off the gas. They're trying to trying to make the situation a little less explosive. And by that, I mean, they're trying to turn down the temp. Right now, everybody's full steam ahead. Everyone's looking for it. They're out searching for it. It's pedal to the metal, every single law enforcement agency, and they just wanted to just pull that back a little bit. And by saying that she's gone, by saying that she's, out in nature, what does that mean? It means they're going to, so we don't have to worry about writing warrants for houses right now. I mean, it just sends the investigation in a totally different direction and away from someone. And the final thing about this is a lot of this in the verbiage here is someone who cares. We always said from the beginning that this is someone that had some nexus to Nancy. This.
I mean, we're almost done here. Thank you guys for being here. If you're heading out, I get it. There's a bunch of other live shows happening right now, and I think I've made my point about what the verbiage tells us, and I definitely told you about the chaos in Pima County. This is just me solidifying my thoughts and what I've been saying. You're very welcome, Coffee and Dog Studio. I'm so glad that I did too. Thank you. I know it does sound a bit heartless, but they have to do a job, and I agree with that as well. Two things can be true at the same time, guys. I don't know. I hope they do. I really do hope they get her body back. Keep writing looks very scared of me too. Her speech cadence is kind of strange, right? All right, we're gonna wrap this up with this part, and then Cheeky, if you're still here, I emailed you back. I definitely want to know about the Annabelle doll. Thank you guys. I appreciate that so much. And the way that you can get this out there is just by liking and sharing. And if you get a chance and you see that they ask to hype the channel, please hype the channel. It's free. All right, let's finish here and then we're out of here.
Person is trying to say that they care, because that might, as James said, that might get them to pay. But they're just predators. They're just going to do whatever they can to get someone to pay them.
Thanks for watching this clip. If you're new here, subscribe. We got a whole.
All right, Megyn Kelly, great. That was fantastic. Remember, we've got the Inner Circle. Derek Colella on July 2nd is going to change his plea from not guilty to I don't know what. We're gonna find out. What does that mean? What's gonna happen with the case? Does he know more? I just emailed you, Cheeky. And you guys can decide. You guys can all decide. Good night. Thank you, everyone that was here and respectful. Shout out to Criminal Network. I'm watching him on X behind the scenes now, and he's out there talking about it. I mean, obviously he got his feelings hurt, and I understand that. And but unfortunately, what's out there now is what he put out there was his response, her response, the all of it. But I don't think that he will proceed that way in the future. He does look like a big old teddy bear. I see him on X. He's got this, and I reshared it. So go sign up for X account. If you don't have an X account, go to x.com and look up Guilty of Crime. Follow me. It will show you what we're working on. All law enforcement agencies. That's funny. All right, we're going to cleanse the palate. All right. Oh, the email. She's doing the box. I don't want a haunted doll. All right, so the porch guy, we've got some drawings. We've got some things that have been morphine. We've got the family mourning. We've got connections that are hard to erase that we can't think about. And what I'm going to do on the way out, I'm going to try for you. Carrie wants me to play our chicken song remix. Let me see if it'll let me, and then we will be out of here. Let me try this. If it doesn't play, then I have to download it. You guys tell me if you can hear it. Can you guys hear it? You don't know. Can you hear it?
I am just a little dancing piece of macaroni. I am not spaghetti or penny or rigatoni. I am not lasagna or a fat slab of bologna. I'm macaroni.
Thank you, Carrie. That was the remix of the chicken and macaroni song, and it's got the guilty of crime. I didn't know there was a visual to it, so let me I'll put that on real quick. It's pretty small. Let's see if you guys can hear it and see it. Hot dogs and bologna, chicken and macaroni. Chilling with my homies. Chilling with my homies. Good night. I agree.
I am just a little dancing piece of macaroni. I am not spaghetti or penny or rigatoni. I am not lasagna or a fat slab of bologna. I'm macaroni.
There you go. It was small. It came out small. It's a video, but it came out small. So I got you. Love you. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for being in the discussions tonight. I love you guys. I'll get it right, Carrie. I got you. Smoking with my homies, Foxy says. And Cheeky, yeah. Let's dab and let's get an Annabelle doll in the house. How about that? All right, guys. Love you. I will see you tomorrow. You know that mug ain't sporting a facial. I know. Listen, Country Roads. Country Roads comes in out of the bushes. I could have had this discussion with you the whole time. Check this out. This is what bothers me real quick before I go. Let me show you this image, Country Roads. This is why this bothers me, is because this man did that same thing. You see that? I'm not saying that's Porch Guy, but what I'm saying is this Luke Daly, which also can look a lot like the drawing. Also, that's him up at the top right upper hand corner. And then when he did his interview to clear himself, he's nice and clean shaven. Okay? So, yes, let's get something out. Let's get some real sketches out there, guys. Good night, Deb. Thank you for coming. Rose, Allie. I don't know, but we'll find it out. All right, Fox is going to go dab now. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody. Love you. Thank you for supporting the show. Drake kidnapped Nancy. Get out of here. Good night, y'all. Love you. See you tomorrow. 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central, and 7 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Thank you, guys. Love you. Good night.
Guilty of crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of crime.
Are you guilty?